nobody serenades you but me, Bats. Take it away, boys. Take me on home to the asylum. Never alone in the asylum. Anarchy ruled, it was wild, but through it all you never smiled. Joke's on you, I'm in your head, so look who's laughing now. Remember in Arkham City, I killed your girl, so pretty. That was the night you let me die. But when I looked you in the eye, that's when I knew we'd be together. Look who's laughing now. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. Ah, I feel you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I am the clown, prince of crime. And we've had a hell of a time. You're part of me, I'm part of you. And now there's nothing left to do. I just can't wait till I'm in control. Who'll be laughing then? I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. Oh yeah, I think I can taste your fear. Now that my time is near, I'm in your blood, I'm so alive. I only wish you'd let me drive. It won't be long till I make you kill. Who'll be laughing then? Barbara's dead and I'm laughing. Ah! Jason Todd's dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm even dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. I'm cock-a-doodle-doo. All because of you. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. Ah, I feel you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. I feel you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you.
These scars long have yearned for your tender caress, to bind our fortunes. Damn what the stars own. When my heart open, then your love profess, a winding, weaving fate to which we both atone.
That's most definitely
You
what's up.
flee, my dream come the morning. Your scent, berries tart, lilac sweet.
I'm vibing.
To dream of raven locks and twisted, stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep. The wolf I will follow into the storm, to find your heart, its passion displaced by our ever-growing, hardening into stone, amidst the cold to hold you in a heated embrace. You flee, my my dream come the morning. Your scent, berries tart, lilac sweet. To dream of raven locks and twisted stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep. I know not if fate would have us live as one, or if by love's blind chance we've been bound. The wish I whispered when it all began, did it forge a love you might never have found? You flee, my dream come the morning. Your scent, berries tart, lilac sweet. To dream of raven locks and twisted stormy, of violet eyes glistening as you weep.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, welcome. Glad to have you. Hello, howdy doody. Howdy doody. How do I swap my scenes? Hi. How's it going? Hopefully you're feeling good. I know I'm feeling good. We're vibing, we're chilling.
I'm vibing.
You know how we be. How we be doing. Can I pop the chat out? No, I can't right there. Go here. I want to get the chat on screen because I always like that. I like Doobie doing it. Lots to talk about today. Like way more than I was anticipating. I was like, oh, it's going to be a nice slow day. A nice slow news day. We'll just chill and everything is broken. But today we actually have a crap ton of stuff to address. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Let's just pull up chat nice and big. So all you lovely people get your time to shine. Then I stretch this. Boop. And then this. Ooh, about like that. That doesn't quite match up. Hold on. Maybe like that. Okay, you know what? This is a little janky, but we're doing our best. Anyway, how have you guys been? I've missed you so long. I've missed you a long time. I don't even know what I'm doing. Let's go like this. Again, it's not a Luke stream unless something's kind of breaking in the middle of it, right? That's just part of what these streams have become. Just like this. Okay, we go like that. Boop. And then I will duplicate it. Broke my brain. Let's go like this. About like that. Approximately like that. Whoop. And then that stretches and fills it in. See? And then my arm gets all wonky when it goes out of this area. You see that? Super sketchy. Anyway, hi guys. How are all of you? How are all of you doing? Wow. So much to get through. So much. I mean, we've got ATVI news. We've got news about, the merger more broadly. We've got news about Jedi Survivor. All sorts of stuff. Ooh. Do. All sorts of stuff to talk about. Yeah, apparently Jedi Survivor. I haven't watched any of the reviews because I wanted to go through them fresh and raw with you guys. So I haven't seen them, but from what I've been hearing on like Twitter from people like you, it seems that the reception's been generally positive, which is awesome. So we're gonna check them out, and it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, doesn't really surprise me at all. It's my biggest problems with Jedi Fallen Order was limited budget and scope. It just ends out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. And it seems like everything that they're doing with this sequel addresses all of that. Like they basically just have a blank check to do whatever they want, and that's awesome. So I expect it to just be bigger, badder, huge boss fights, all sorts of cool stuff. And that's exactly what I felt the first game was missing. So that's awesome. And there's also been previews of Tears of the Kingdom. Some people got to see that. And it's going to be pretty cool. Apparently performance is ass as expected. I am worried about PC performance. Those of you not aware, Jedi Survivor, as far as I'm aware, is running on Unreal Engine 4, just like the last one. And Unreal Engine 4 is the same engine that like Gotham Knights, Callisto Protocol, Hogwarts Legacy, pretty sure. All of those are running on that same hardware, so, or software. So it's been a consistent problem that PC ports on Unreal Engine 4 are not tremendous. But we're going to check it out. We're going to see. How are you liking Spiritfarer so far? I'm really liking it. I played a lot of Dredge on the plane. So I kind of put Spiritfarer to the side to play some Dredge. And I really like Dredge, but the grind gets to be infuriating in the last like third of the game. It's really disappointing. It's not even like fun grind. It's like they tell you find 2 fish locked in eternal battle with each other and put them in here. I'm like, okay, like I know I can do that, but it's based on random drops and it's just kind of tedious and a little annoying. So, I've paused that just because it got boring for me. It got to be too much grind, but went back to Spiritfarer and I'm enjoying that again. I've been bouncing all over the place, you know, all over the place, but I'm glad to have you guys here. FPS drops have been the only thing reported, but you're right. UE4's, data streaming tech is very likely what is causing the hitches. Hogwarts is a super indicator. Yeah, and it's also shader compilation issues. And again, I was kind of an outlier back in the day. I had terrible performance on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Like, and that was on the Xbox One X. Oh, are there leaks coming out, Rocky? Oh, that's tremendous. Oh, I can't pin like that. Oh, thank you, Luke.
Did the Scarecrow get a promotion? He was outstanding in his field.
That's good. Funny. Funny. Okay, here. I can pin it if I pull up the actual YouTube chat, but I can't do it from the OBS built-in chat. So that's a thing. They're saying Jedi will have a day 1 patch that'll fix stuff for what it's worth. That's good, Nindish, and you know, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It is always tricky though when a game reviewer gets a copy of the game early and it's got a ton of issues, and then the devs are like, no, we are fixing this. This stuff will all be fixed for everybody else. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just be like, okay, well, they said they'd fix it, so probably they'll fix it. Or like, do you take their word for it? Probably not. But then if it feels like if you talk about it and you bring it up in your review, then you're already like screwing them over, because they, like, if they fix it, everybody still thinks that it's broken. And if they don't fix it, then it still gets screwed, rightfully so, though. You know. Did I pull the video I sent you in DMs? Not yet. I have, like, IGN's Maddie did a review on it. I was gonna do a review on Jedi Survivor, but I was out of town all last week for the wedding, so it didn't really work. Oh, you guys weren't kidding. Quantum TV did get arrested. I thought you were like kind of joking about that. What did he get arrested for? Does anybody know? The Quantum TV guy? It's a little funny. Is it for something like super serious and like kind of a bummer? Oh, domestic violence. Okay, yeah, F that dude. So I was hoping it would be something like he was caught stealing like PlayStation controllers from a Walmart or something like that. Like I thought it'd be something funny like that, but that's just bad. It's also had a day zero patch. Apparently the kind of funny guys did a sheet of bugs the devs was aware of, but all of those bugs would be fixed for release day. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It always worries me when it comes down to like the last minute like that, like down to the ultra wire. I don't know. Anyway, $500 is his bail. Is that not like super low? That seems super low. Like, right? Shouldn't it be way more than that? Oh. I'm not a lawyer. Like, what do I know? But that seems really, really low for something very serious. Huh. Okay. That's terrible. I don't know. It depends on net worth. I don't think it does in the States. I mean, maybe like in theory it should, but as far as I'm aware, like in Ireland, I think it is, they do like proportionality of your net worth is what your fine is. So like there was a story of some heir to a pharmaceutical empire, who he was worth like billions of dollars, and he was speeding by like 30 kilometers an hour or something. And normally for like you and me, that fine would be 50 pounds or euros, whatever. But for him, it was like millions and millions and millions, which is really, really funny. Especially in Florida. It does in Florida. Well, I don't live in Florida yet, so maybe that is the thing. In Colorado, it wouldn't be, which has caused a lot of drama because like you'll have these very wealthy people that do horrible things and then walk out with a bail that like doesn't affect them at all. He explains it. Okay, maybe we'll have to. I don't know if we'll watch that on stream. I think it'd be really funny, but was he the guy that was also trying to flex, saying that he was like really rich and stuff? Was that him, or am I thinking of somebody else? Because that would be really funny if he was like flexing and trying to be like, oh, I'm super rich, you're poor, lol. And then it turns out that he's like totally broke. Maybe that wasn't him. That's a different guy. Okay. There's so many of these kinds of guys that I can't keep track of them. It's just easy to get mixed up. But let's just jump right into this. I want to see real quick what this Jedi Survivor review looks like, and then I want to get into the ATVI stuff because there's a lot of really interesting stuff about what the UK regulators just did. There's a reason Wall Street kind of freaked out this morning when the news dropped, and it's because it doesn't make a lot of sense. And if they hold to this standard that they're establishing by trying to reject this deal, pretty much any merger ever will now be blocked, because they're holding people to a standard where if you like literally, if a company might in the future do something that's anti-competitive, you can block the deal, which I would say is true of every company ever. Like what? Like imagine if like me and another YouTuber are going to merge our companies and put our channels onto one parent channel. And then that's blocked. In this case, it wouldn't be going to regulators, but let's just say hypothetically we were going to regulators. The regulators would be able to block that because one day we might have a following of billions of people and then we could silence everybody else that like disagrees with us, because we merged, and we would have exclusive access to certain things and everything. So it's basing whether or not you approve mergers and acquisitions based on speculation, which up till now is not how that works. You can't do that. So that's why Wall Street, like, when this news dropped, everybody was like, what? That doesn't work. But anyway, we'll get into that. We'll talk about that in detail. I read some articles on it this morning. In general, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But anyway, we'll get into that. It's the whole thing. Yeah, Rando, I was out of town for a wedding all last week in Texas, so I didn't stream Wednesday or Friday. So it wasn't just you. It was a whole thing. Okay, let's see what they're saying about this stuff, about the game. Let's do this. 4K. Nope, only 1080 60. Here we go. Buckle up, boys and girls. Oh, wait. Volume's down. Hold on. Up. Okay.
At first, I was afraid. I was petrified.
Look at this, a lightsaber.
I kept thinking, how could Respawn follow up on its outstanding Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? But then I spent so many nights just playing the sequel and seeing how they got it right. And Cal Kestis grew strong. And I learned how to get along. And now we're back in outer space. Okay, don't leave, I'll stop. The point is that with vastly expanded combat options, bigger, more open maps, many more abilities to play with, and enough collectible stuff to fill a Corellian freighter, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is in many ways the Batman Arkham City to Fallen Order's Arkham Asylum. And
that right here is exactly what I wanted to hear. Because again, my biggest frustration with all of this has been that I felt like Jedi Fallen Order was a foundation that was laid, that was super great and proved the concept really, really well, but it didn't feel as though it had like the runway to really get going. It didn't feel like they had the budget to really do what they wanted to do. And it sounds like this is exactly that. Arkham Asylum was really good, but it was very compact, very neat, like lean and focused. And then Arkham City came along and just blew us all away. And it seems like that's what this is. It seems like this is going to be bigger and badder. That's exactly what I was hoping for.
much like those Arkham games did for Batman, nothing else convincingly captures the power fantasy of playing as a Force user quite as well as this.
Get the enemy! Shoot him! We'll do this together.
Especially considering there's no reason not to go back and play Fallen Order before starting Survivor if you haven't, I greatly appreciate that the sequel starts you out with most of the powers and upgrades that Cal had already acquired. There's no corny amnesia or, oh no, my Force powers are gone gimmick to make you relearn how to double jump or use Force push. And no Jawas showed up to steal away the climbing claws that make scaling walls much faster or the Scomp Link that lets BD1 hack things.
It seems like a lot of the footage they're showing, maybe not. Oh, well, actually, yeah. It seems like all the footage they're showing is 30 FPS. Which is fine. I'm just confused why they uploaded it in 1080 60 then, if it's 30 FPS footage.
Your healing canisters and life and Force bar extensions, this is more or less Cal as we left him 5 years prior. So we're already off to an exciting running start when things kick off with a brief caper on Imperial Coruscant. You're quickly thrown right back into force-pushing stormtroopers off ledges and chaining together movement tricks like wall running, climbing, swinging, and sliding down ramps.
My favorite!
And that's just the beginning. The Spider-Man style grapple is introduced before you leave the planet, and the unlocks keep coming from there at a rewarding pace. When you get the mid-air dash ability to pair with your double jump, things really take off. You can cover such crazy distances without touching the ground, changing directions twice to reach things around corners, that I had to completely rethink what was possible.
Look out, Super Mario Odyssey. There's a new player in town. Please tell me Cal unlocks like a little cap he can throw and jump off of. That'd be awesome.
It's not as though Survivor invented the air dash, but Respawn makes excellent use of it and further flexes those Titanfall muscles.
That was close.
Lightsabers are, of course, the stars of the war, and Survivor kicks up the excellent dueling from Fallen Order by several notches with 5 different fighting stances that are all brilliantly animated to create some of the flashiest and fiercest Star Wars melee battles I've ever seen. You don't even have to be all that good at nailing the timing of strikes, parries, and dodges for fights to look spectacular and smooth. And did you notice the arms and legs getting cut off? It's great!
Nice!
Cal's lightsaber has many customizable cosmetic parts, and all of the available blade colors are unlocked shortly after the start, so you can make Cal more your own from the very beginning. That also goes for his blaster and his range of clothing, which is far more extensive this time around, as well as his new haircut and beard options. He'll always be the same Cal Kestis underneath it, but your character will likely have a very different vibe from mine. Yes, it is a little silly to find haircuts and beards in treasure chests, but sure, why not? And I'm just delighted at the customization for our loyal companion BD1. In Fallen Order you could only change his paint job, but just look at all of this, and look at the way his body reacts. It's another lovely little touch in a game that presents so many.
That's good. Little details, man.
But anyway, you can only equip 2 lightsaber stances at a time, which gives your Cal another dose of personality.
They really don't want us inside.
So after dabbling in the single, double-bladed, and dual-wielding stances that carry over, I settled on the 2 new ones. The Kylo Ren-inspired crossguard style is like a slow and heavy broadsword that's great for hammering a stunned target into the floor, while the blaster style lets you dispatch small enemies without having to close the gap. It is quite literally a blast.
So funny!
Pair nicely with the expanded set of force powers that allow you to do things like this. You can, of course, swap out your stances at any meditation circle, but each stance has its own skill tree, so you're encouraged to specialize. By the time I reached the second half of the story, I had my clear favorites and no regrets. The story does the job that it needs to do well. Get you from one exciting action scene to the next. Quite literally by accidentally falling into it, Cal finds himself in a race to locate what's effectively a map to a lost treasure planet.
You should check this out.
That's very much in keeping with him as the Nathan Drake of the Star Wars universe,
What is this?
and it leads to plenty of excuses to visit old abandoned puzzle chambers. It might take you 20 hours or 30 depending on how long you spend taking a detour to get eaten by the damn Rancor and other optional bosses. For me, it was in the 30s. My main issue with the story is that nearly every big twist is foreshadowed so heavily that it was only ever a matter of when a reveal would happen, not if.
The key we have been searching for.
The identities of the main villains are a secret as of now, and shall remain unspoiled here, but they're pretty easy to see coming a light year away. In any case, at least they're written and acted with enough depth that they don't feel like retreads of anyone Cal has faced before. And neither is a two-dimensional Sith Lord who has somehow returned. There's more to them than that, and Survivor successfully prioritizes character over plot for the most part.
Kill him.
Oh no! Hey, we're all together. Huh?
Yes.
The cast I enjoyed so much in Fallen Order is back in full force to go through those motions. And this time, actor Cameron Monaghan's Cal is not so easily out.
Cameron Monaghan. I can never remember this dude's name. I'm like, he's the guy from the Thing. You know, he's got like the face. I can never remember his name, but I heard I forgot it. Cameron, because it was like Cal. Cameron McConaughey or something. I don't know.
Outshined by the crew of the Mantis. His motivations are about more than simply fighting the Empire now. It's about whether he can live a life where he's something more than a resistance fighter. Let go of his guilt and find a home that's safe. His path after escaping Order 66 is contrasted against.
He wants a safe space for his home. More wokeism, I'll tell you what, right? Cancel the game now. It's terrible.
He had different priorities and made different choices. Because of that context, his decisions have more weight to them, making him a much more realized protagonist this time around.
Cal, this is BD1.
Why are you cute, little droid?
Naturally, BD1 never left Cal's side, but the rest of the crew are all given very human reasons for their parting of ways after Fallen Order and why they're coming back together now.
Me, you, the Space Witch, Seer.
Grease's lovable cantankerousness made him a favorite,
You missed the mantis, huh?
Sure, I was worried about the kind of abuse you were putting it through.
and he's happy to deliver more of that, along with some sage wisdom, while carefully avoiding overuse of his catchphrase.
All right, make like a rock and quit moving around my cabin.
Marin returns and immediately rekindles the romantic chemistry between herself and Cal,
Ooh.
and riding her teleporting coattails leads to Survivor's single most thrilling action sequence. And though she's less of a constant presence due to Cal no longer needing a mentor, the ever-intense Sayre is more powerful than ever, and that's memorably on display in one of the story's biggest moments.
We both have our roles to play in this struggle.
Aside from a large cast of colorful alien side characters, the other new member of the group is Bode.
He's a friend.
Bode.
Nice to finally meet you.
He's another roguish mercenary type who, much like Cal did in Fallen Order, initially comes off somewhat blandly as the two bro it up to establish the friendship they've struck up fighting the Empire off-screen together. As his backstory is fleshed out, however, he does become a more interesting companion.
I don't get to see her as often as I'd like, but at least I can provide for her.
Fighting alongside allies on certain story missions this time around is a treat, especially watching Marin blink around the battle and pick off targets. They don't need babysitting because they can't be hurt, but you can have them prioritize an annoying enemy. Beyond that, they're only really used to open up paths for you to reach new areas when prompted.
How's this?
But their banter and companionship definitely liven up scenes in a way that BD1's adorable bleeps and whoops couldn't do alone.
Here's something for me.
That's cool.
Of
Team
course, with new
finishers?
friends must also come new enemies. And following a whole game of battling mostly Imperial Inquisitors, it's a relief to see that the Empire's role here is more in the background. Their parade of trooper types and security droids are mostly here to provide variety after you've been fighting the main enemy army of raiders and their salvaged separatist battle droids. It's a clever way to plausibly merge the original and prequel trilogy enemies together in the same game.
Impressive dexterity.
There's also no shortage of beasts that resemble what we saw in Fallen Order. No matter where you go in the Star Wars galaxy, it seems life always finds a way to make giant bugs and big angry wampas.
Whack.
It's a good mix of enemies and subtypes that builds on the previous game's already respectable lineup.
That one hurt just to
And when I find
watch.
myself in the middle of a fray where different factions are battling it out, including any weak-minded foes I temporarily force confused over to my side, it's a great time. On the subject of creatures, one of Cal's many new abilities is to ride mounts. Though that isn't ever really used for much besides galloping across big empty areas slightly faster than Cal could have run on foot. There's also a flying animal that can be used as a glider, though only at very specific points, so it's not much of a game changer either, but it does play nicely into environmental puzzles. Speaking of environments, this journey takes us to a handful of never-before-seen planets, some of which are expansive and include a variety of extremely different areas within them. Your new home base world of Kobo, for instance, has everything from grassland to swamp to underground facilities, a crass separatist ship, and even its own version of Cloud City. They're far from the typical Star Wars one-note worlds like Tatooine or the Forest Moon of Endor.
This place is in ruins.
Every time I entered a new area, I'd circle the camera, looking for telltale signs the level designers leave to indicate a wall is runnable, a ceiling can be clung to, a crack can be squeezed through, and more. These levels are meticulously thought-out puzzles in and of themselves, and only rarely did I run across something that didn't feel intuitive or fair once I took into account all of the tools at my disposal.
I'm on, Gabs.
Considering that this adventure is roughly equal parts combat and puzzle solving, the fact that there's such a broad selection of types works in its favor. Puzzles that deal with directing energy beams and even painting paths are clever and well done, on par and sharing some ideas with a lot of what we saw in God of War Ragnarok last year. They aren't groundbreaking in their design, but they're consistently fun nonetheless.
As long as he doesn't ramble and tell you the answer right as you get there, I'm down. Like, that was a problem with God of War Ragnarok that they eventually patched out, was that, like, you know, you get stuck on a puzzle and then Atreus or, like, whoever, Mimir, will be like, oh, maybe you look up there, brother. And then it moves the camera and points you right at the solution. Or it says, I wonder if I could smash that box with my arrow and then activate the blah, blah, blah. And it just spoils it. It just, like, ruins it. Eventually they patched it. So those lines were delivered instead of like 30 seconds into a puzzle, they were delivered like 3 minutes into a puzzle, just to like you know, make it less super annoying. But as long as they don't do that here, I'm down. Just like if you're going to give me a puzzle, make it a puzzle. Yeah, a button that requests help, something like that. I think that's what they had in Fallen Order, if I recall correctly. So if they do that, I think that works way better. Totally agree.
Starting to think we're in the right place.
Throughout it all, Survivor is a gorgeous game with beautifully detailed environments and characters, and perhaps as a result, not one of the best performing. My PS5 playthrough saw some fairly gnarly slowdowns from the expected 30 frames per second in 4K quality mode, especially when fighting around smoke or fog, which made timing my parries and dodges difficult. Disappointingly, even the 1440p performance mode, which most of this review footage is recorded in, isn't close to holding a locked 60 frames per second. I also saw a few crashes and bugs that forced me to quit and reload my saves to progress. EA says the day one patch will come with improvements on all platforms, but if history is any guide, it might take a little while before that's completely ironed out. A smooth frame rate is certainly important when battling Survivor's multiple lightsaber-wielding bosses, because there is no shortage of challenge in learning the timing of parrying their strikes and dodging their unblockable attacks. I confess, after a few hours of banging my head against the brutal final boss, I finally resorted to turning the difficulty down a notch so I could see the ending in time for this review. That said, there's not a lot that felt especially novel about these fights. They're well made, but mostly conventional, and one aspect that hasn't seen a great improvement over Fallen Order. When it comes to tracking down those bosses in the first place, I certainly appreciate that the Jedi games give you a map, but it does leave something to be desired when it comes to usability. Just like in Fallen Order, this seems so dedicated to the idea of resembling a light blue Star Wars hologram that it's not always easy to figure out what you're looking at, and the directions its waypoints give you aren't always accurate. However, its dotted lines were generally good enough to point me in the right direction when I struggled to find a path forward or was feeling lost.
It's like the Dead Space mini-map all over again. It's like, what the hell is this trying to tell me?
Also, this time Respawn has granted us the ability to fast travel between save points, which feels like an act of mercy when the objective is on the other side of one of these large labyrinthian maps.
That was such a small, weird choice, because in Fallen Order, you couldn't, like, you know, in this case, there's a point over here that you need to go to, but you're all the way over here, and in order to get over there, you have to run through waves of enemies, climb over walls, run on wall, do whatever. And it was just overly tedious. And sometimes there's good reason for that. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 notably had a fast travel system, but a lot of people finished all of Red Dead 2 without even realizing there was a fast travel option in the form of those like buggies that you can go to in Saint Denis and places like that outside of like train stations. And I think that was intentional because like they have this huge world. They want you to be immersed and to explore just finding it yourself. They don't want you to like be held back by giving you the option to run around and skip all of that exploration. Sometimes, as I've said before, if a player has the ability to abuse a mechanic, they'll abuse it. If they have the ability to abuse fast travel, they'll abuse it. If they have the ability to abuse a quick save, quick load thing to get the dialogue option they want, they're going to do it. Like, love it or hate it, people will do it because it's a game and that's what people do. They use the mechanics the game gives you to play the game and to get the desired outcome. And it's the game designer's job to balance that out and make sure that they don't ruin the experience for themselves. It's why, I don't tend to love difficulty sliders and things that can be hot swapped and dropped in real time, because in my mind, that's kind of an excuse for lazy developers for like balance. For example, like the Horizon Burning Shores DLC, if you run into like a boss encounter that's really, really tough, like you can just drop it all the way down to story mode, get the boss like taken care of, and then just raise it back up. Easy. And that means that like the developers never really have to worry too much about balancing that encounter for the player, because they're like, well, if it's a little too hard, you know, the get good, really try hard players, they'll pound their head against the wall and then do a perfect run after 10 hours of practice and they'll kill him on that higher difficulty. But people who don't want to do that are going to drop the difficulty and be able to get through it just fine, you know, so don't worry about balancing it too much. It's why I have so much respect for like From Software, where From will actually balance every boss encounter the same equally for everybody. There's no real time dropping of difficulty modes or any of that crap. It's just like, yeah, figure it out. I don't know what to tell you. Figure it out. And I respect that a lot. And in this case, it seems like this is a much more approachable game, kind of like Horizon, where they're trying to build it in a way where if you want the try-hard experience, you can find it and pound your head against the wall for hours against boss fights. But if you want the lighthearted Star Wars romp in the hay, you can have that here too. And honestly, there's a place for more casualistic games. I think that's fine. But it does, in my mind, put a cap on the potential of the combat system, because that level of fine-tuning for boss difficulty, animations, hitboxes, that stuff just never happens, because they always can just be like, well, the player can just drop the difficulty, whatever. And to hear that the bosses aren't notably improved is a little bit of a bummer. As long as there's more of them, I'm happy. But it's a little bit of a bummer that they're not putting a little more effort into the boss fights. You know, that's a little bit... Red Dead World is actually fun to walk around, though, because of the random interactions that would happen. Even sleeping in a campfire could create a random encounter. Well, that's true, New Kid. And they designed the whole game understanding that most people, if they want to go from Saint Denis to Strawberry or Saint Denis up into the mountains, they're going to go, or Valentine, whatever. They're going to go and ride their horse or buy a train ticket and ride the train all the way up, and it's going to take them a while. And because they understand players are going to do that, they can pace everything out. They can design the whole experience around that because they know what they're dealing with. In Jedi Fallen Order, it always felt like there wasn't any cool thing. You're just running through the levels again that you've already done. And one of the issues with, Soulsborne style games or Metroidvania style games is that when you task the player with just going through an area again and you don't give them the option to fast travel around, what inevitably happens is players just sprint past every boss, every mini boss, every enemy encounter that spawns. Like they just sprint through them. Like we've all seen it where you just, I need to run from this area of the map over here and I need to get to this one, but I can't fast travel. So I'm just going to sprint past everything. And we've all done it, because why would you fight every single enemy that pops up and spawns along the way? You know, why would you bother that? Bother with that? It just would be a waste of time unless you're that desperate for, like, I don't remember the currency, whatever the currency is from killing enemies in this. And honestly, whenever, maybe this is unfair of me, but whenever I see a player like actively avoiding interactions in games, that to me seems like a bad thing. Like if I give you the ability, maybe what would be like Hogwarts Legacy, they give you these mounts. You can ride a hippogriff, you can ride that around, or you can get access to the big Graphorn and ride that around. If you use that once and then you never touch it again, it seems to me like something went wrong, right? Like that shouldn't have happened. Because what should happen is they give you the option to do something cool, and then you do that something cool for an extended period of time. You're just like, oh, this is great. I love it. But when a game introduces a system or some mechanic that you use a little bit and then you never touch it again, or you actively avoid it, that to me is a problem. Even in Horizon Burning Shores, like they give you the option to use the Sunwing and fly that around. But the thing flies so freaking slow. It's just easier to fast travel around. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'll shut up.
They're dense, too. Survivor is packed full of things to do around the edges of the main story, including bounty hunters and legendary creatures to track down and kill, combat challenges, and more. Some of those are seriously...
Dude, it's so Arkham City, it's not even funny. Because this is something that they did a little bit in Arkham Asylum, and then they brought like timed challenges to get through 50 enemies or to build your combo counter to 100 or whatever the challenge was. And like I spent so much time in Arkham City doing all of that. And so it's funny to see all of the little inspirations taken from that. That's awesome.
It's tough, even on the default Jedi Knight difficulty. On top of all that, there's just an intimidating amount of stuff to collect. And yes, there is a New Game Plus.
I'm sure the Emperor won't mind if I deliver you to him in pieces.
What?
Star Wars Jedi Survivor takes what Fallen Order achieved and wall runs with it, then double jumps and air dashes straight into an epic lightsaber battle. Rather than double...
Oh, it's a glass floor. My brain broke for a second. I was like, he's just standing on the open air?
Jumps
What?
and air dashes straight into an epic lightsaber battle. Rather than taking us back to square one to begin Cal's journey as a Padawan again, we're trusted with control of a full-fledged Jedi Knight, who we can grow into a master of superhuman mobility and fantastic and challenging combat. With a new set of larger, more diverse, and densely packed worlds to explore and a memorable cast of returning characters, Survivor tells a story that may be predictable at times, but is still fun and emotional to watch play out. Launch performance issues aside, it's a sequel that does virtually everything better than the original, which was already an exceptional Star Wars game. If Respawn makes one more like this, it'll be the best Star Wars trilogy in 30 years, hands down.
In 30 years? What was 30 years ago? What's the other best Star Wars game? Or does he mean including the movies? Is that what he's saying? But even that would be more like 40 years, right? Because the original Star Wars was in like 78 or something. Yeah, 77. Yeah, I don't know. He means including the... Okay, makes sense. Ozzy, good to see you, my friend. PC performance is the biggest downside by far. It's an incredible game. That's good. Who did a PC review? Does anybody know of somebody that did a PC review? Jedi Survivor PC review. PC Gamer, I bet. I bet they did a PC review. That's probably a safe bet, right?
Star Wars Jedi Survivor is arriving at a time when there's too much Star Wars, and most of it's not good. The Mandalorian has gotten too cheesy for its own good. The Boba Fett and Obi-Wan shows were toothless side stories, and
how dare you? I haven't seen any of these.
Enthusiasm around...
I have no idea. In general, I like Star Wars has potential, but growing up with a name like Luke, I've received so many horrible dad jokes, people thinking they're really, really funny, by pretending they're my father and stuff. I've just been burned out on it. It just doesn't work. But that being said, I do think Star Wars has a lot of potential, and when it works really freaking well. But Star Wars really exhibits a lot of the problems of like typical Disney franchises, where they're bought out and then they're turned giga corporate and they just pump out 15 different variations of it to see what sticks. And I just don't have that much interest in it as a franchise. I'm worried they're doing the same thing with Harry Potter now that they're doing an HBO show too. That worries me. That worries me. I don't know. I guess we'll see. That's a topic for another time though. I mean, seriously though, what are the odds that the Harry Potter HBO show turns out even decent? Maybe it's awesome if they actually stick to like the books and just make it the movies but bigger and badder. That could be great. But my fear is that they're gonna come in and then like they're gonna do that thing where, oh, and Hermione was actually a fish the whole time. I never said she wasn't a fish, so she's a fish now. And then Ron is actually a racist. I never said he wasn't, but it's the duality of somebody who's ginger who's also a raging racist. And like they're just gonna start tossing in stuff like that to try and make it more mature. I'm not into it, but we'll anyway. Topic for another day.
And the next wave of movies feels at best muted. Jedi Survivor puts on a brave face during the darkest chapter of Star Wars history, finds humor in an unfair world, and sometimes succumbs to helplessness. It's not a story about fighting the Empire as much as coping with its dominance, grappling with the futility of rebellion, and questioning what's left to fight for. The modern Star Wars media that this feels closest to is Andor, though it's not as ambitious in its storytelling or as cynical. Unfortunately though, those themes take a backseat through the majority of the story while Cal Kestis and crew entertain the deranged tantrums of a skin-deep evil guy with a red lightsaber, reminding us that this is still Uncharted in space. But man, is it damn good at being space Uncharted. Maybe even better in some ways, because Jedi Survivor breaks free of the Naughty Dog trends 2019's Fallen Order chased. Yes, Cal climbs up crumbling buildings and swings on ropes, but he also double jumps, air dashes, wall runs, and grapple hooks all over the place. There's an almost
I mean, if it's just Uncharted with a Star Wars coat of paint and Titanfall movement, I'm down. Like, who wouldn't be down for that? Doesn't that just sound awesome? Harry Potter starring Chris Pratt as Dobby. Dude, I'd watch it. More realistically, imagine if they cast The Rock as Dobby. Master has given Dobby a song. Dobby smash. Dude, I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be great. Rocky, I think you'd freaking love Titanfall, especially if you like Destiny and like quality shooters. Dude, you're gonna love Titanfall. Go play Titanfall 2. It'll blow your mind. Kevin Hart is Dobby. They like he walks on the set one day and he's like, so how are you gonna do like the prosthetics, or how are you gonna do like the animation to make me really small? They're like, oh no, we're just gonna do like facial capture, but height wise you're set. We're just gonna do that. It'd be so great. I don't know. You know what? You guys have convinced me. Maybe this HBO series is going to be amazing. Maybe it's going to be great. Let's see. Worst thing about playing on PC is that it didn't matter if the settings were low or epic. The frames dropped in certain areas all the same. Maybe that... I don't know if that would even be a shader thing, because... It depends, like, if it got better, like, as you played more, if it was one of those things where, like, the first time you see the smoke effect, it stutters, and then the next time you see it, it doesn't. That would be shader compilation, like Callisto Protocol had. But if it's just, like, weird random drops when you reach certain areas, that to me is just data management. It's just the streaming tech isn't working quite right. Maybe a VRAM issue, yeah, I guess. Because if it's... But even that... It's got to be a software issue on the processing side of the data, because if it's a VRAM issue, you would think it would be better, like if you're running a 4090 with 24 gigs of VRAM versus like a 4 gig card, you know? Michael Caine as Dumbledore. That would actually be pretty great. Is it a stable 60 on console? No, at least not right now. That's what the IGN reviewer was saying. It looked like he was playing on PS5, and he said even on the performance mode, it was pretty unstable. But they say it's going to be fixed on launch, but they said that last time too. It only has FSR 2 at launch too. Really? They didn't even get like DLSS stuff kicked in? Maybe they have a marketing deal with them or something with AMD. Does it run better than The Last of Us? Probably. J.K. Rowling as Voldemort, she just takes the role on herself. I decided I would just do this myself. I think it will work much better.
Ratio of combat to platforming, and both these things are fun this time. Jedi Survivor revisits an era when third-person action games were designed like jungle gyms, bottomless death pits flanked by that special kind of wall you can climb on, platforms that move for no reason at all, floating balloons that slingshot you across the sky. Respawn has resurrected the big-budget 3D platformer, and it is wonderful. A huge portion of the game takes place in the hub world of Kobo, and that's where a lot of the platforming is. It's deep, wide, and technically an open world, but not a boundless sandbox. It's more a collection of linear levels spoked off from a common center. A PS1 or PS2 style platformer without the loading screens, basically.
That looks fun.
The only thing Jedi Survivor is missing are trails of floating gems or coins to draw my eye to optional areas. Rewards are usually underwhelming perks.
Wow.
A new pair
Look
of
at that movement,
trousers,
though.
a tiny health bar upgrade, but Kobo's mini dungeons and environmental puzzles are fun enough that I sought them out constantly. Respawn has come a long way from Fallen Order's lethargic moveset. The one aspect of Jedi Survivor that hasn't been reimagined, but I don't really think needs to be, is combat. It's still satisfying to chop up stormtroopers with a lightsaber, and even better now that droids are in the mix too. Cal has gotten a lot more lethal with a saber in the last 5 years that we've time skipped through. Limbs are chopped off from heavy attacks, and sometimes Cal will unholster a blaster for a finishing execution that I assume he learned watching John Wick. Oh yeah, by the way, Cal has a blaster now? It's one of the 2 new saber stances new to Jedi Survivor for a total of 5. I'm impressed at how Respawn has managed to make what is essentially the same saber feel like 5 distinct weapons. Each stance has a unique moveset and its own upgrade tree with inherent trade-offs. The blaster has a nice give and take that's consistent.
This guy's way better at the
stance.
game than the PC, or than the IGN guy. He's way better. He's actually hitting his parries and stuff. He looks way, way better. Let's see. I refunded Dead Island 2. $80 was too much. I think Gabe wasn't as fun as I expected. Oh, that's too bad, Gimbus. That's too bad. But I mean, thankfully there is the ability to refund. So if it's not working for you, you can do that. I'm having fun with it,
most
though.
weaknesses can be smoothed out with upgrade points. After maxing out the blaster tree and equipping a few complementary perks, I managed to clear entire rooms without swinging a saber. Definitely the Jedi equivalent of a cheesy magic build in Elden Ring, but I feel no shame. The only thing that threatened to ruin my good time was the constant performance issues with the PC version. Even with Nvidia's latest driver specifically optimized for this game, my frame rate regularly slow to a crawl at very annoying moments. Stepping through doors sometimes triggers double-digit frame rate drops for 10 seconds or more. Cutscenes often plummet to 15 or 20 FPS, cut off or overlap dialogue, and usually don't recover until I get control back. Performance in most open parts of Kobo are pretty bad too. On an RTX 2080 Super, I was lucky to squeeze a 35 FPS average. Isolated levels ran flawlessly at 80 to 90.
On what resolution though?
90 FPS, so there's clearly something up with the way Respawn is drawing big spaces. Fiddling with graphics options didn't help much either. The only upscaling available was FSR 2.0, which usually failed to improve my FPS, but always succeeded in making Cal's face blurry and unintelligible in motion. I've never missed DLSS more. For what it's worth, I played a non-final version of Jedi Survivor. There's a pre-release patch coming a few days before launch, and among the patch notes EA shared with press is performance improvements across all platforms. Hopefully it'll help, but I'd be surprised if all of those frame rate drops just disappeared overnight. We appear to be living in a brown age of bad PC ports. But unacceptable performance aside, the good news is I still had a great...
Jeez, 15 frames during cutscenes. Like, that's crazy. Drops to 15 frames and it doesn't recover. He said it was so bad that it even would cause... Like, it would cause lines of dialogue to be skipped because it couldn't catch up. That's rough, man. Oh, Sean, thank you. Why didn't it tell me that? Oh, it's a minute ago. Okay, our alerts are not popping off properly. But thank you, Sean, for that 4 months. Ooh, baby. Hey, Luke and everyone. Hope you're good. I'm feeling good, feeling lively. Hopefully you're feeling good. Hopefully everything's looking up. Mr. Sean, good to see you as always. Oh my God. I just read Tanner, Ellen DeGeneres playing Malfoy. That would actually, okay, you know what? Dude, can you imagine if they just like owned this whole thing and then they were like, yeah, we're just gonna have fun with the casting. We're just gonna go crazy. Kevin Hart is Dobby. The Rock is Ron. They get like Caitlyn Jenner to play Hermione. They get Chris Pratt to play Voldemort or something. Like, they just go crazy. It's just the cringiest, stupidest thing ever. It would be so funny, dude. Oh, I'd lose it. I would watch that. I would watch that. I'd probably be more likely to watch that than if they just tried to play it safe with a bunch of like new actors nobody's ever heard of. Oh man. Wow, Luke, your ideas are way worse than ours. Oh, man. Somebody should hire me. All right, Luke, please tell me you've heard Star Wars Republic Commando. It is my favorite game. I believe I have heard of it. Ooh, I just accidentally scrolled all the way to the top. I believe I've heard of it, yeah. The whole series is an SNL skit. Dude, that'd be great. Like the first two were okay, and then Ron, a redhead white guy as a black dude, LMAO. Who knows? Maybe they're just gonna like recast it, kind of like the movies. I don't know, but Ben Affleck as Minerva. Oh, dude, this. Oh yeah, Samuel L. Jackson as Sirius Black. And he's just super serious the whole time. That's horrible. Oh man. Oh yeah, and you gotta have Tom Holland in there. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm not mature enough to talk about these things. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's really good. That's really good. Okay, so all told, it seems like Jedi Survivor is a really good game, a great sequel, but it has tons of performance issues, especially on PC. A lot of them probably will be fixed on console within the first few patches. The PC port, though, let's be real, if it's dropping to 15 frames, I don't think that's just like, oh, we found what was doing it. Flick the switch. Oh, problem solved. That sounds like a much bigger problem. And if that is the case, that it's running that badly, even on a, like, what's comparable to a 2080 Super in like the 30 or 40 series? Like, is a 2080 Super roughly equivalent to like a... No, it's well below like a 4070, as you'd expect. It's like even that, like the current gen, it's well below and it's struggling. But it's still, I think a 2080 has got to be above the mid tier, right? 3070 is comparable. Okay. But like that would still be, because the 3060, I believe, is the most common GPU according to the Steam database, with like 11% of players using it. So if the 3060 is the most common, and we say that's roughly like the median, then this would still be like the 2080 Super is probably still above the 3060 in terms of performance. The 1650 is most common. I could have sworn it was the 3060. But maybe I was just seeing like the individual like SKUs. That one was most popular. So I'm probably wrong. Clara will probably wait a month before buying and get most of the issues ironed out. Honestly, it's probably the best bet. As long as you're able to be patient, I think you'll be better off. 2070 Super, 2080 is around what the consoles are too, by the way. Okay, I actually do recall something like that. So if the 2080 is roughly what like the PS5 and Series X are running in terms of power, and you're saying like the PS5 is having problems, but it's not dropping to 15 during cutscenes, that's real bad, man. That's real bad. Bring it to Mac iOS GTFO. Dude, I read a really interesting article recently, and it was basically the whole thesis of the article was that Apple's next big move should be not getting into VR stuff, VR, AR stuff with their headset, but it should be getting their Apple Silicon to support modern games and then make Macs viable gaming machines. Because right now they target like artistic professionals, video professionals, music production professionals. They target like these creative types. But with Apple Silicon being so efficient, if they could bring that Apple efficiency into the gaming space, you could see buying a MacBook Pro for like as a gaming PC. or as a gaming computer. And as long as they can get support for like like built in, I think it's Wine is what it's called, the Wine like Windows compatibility layer thing that you can download to run Windows apps. If they could get like an Apple supported first party version of that to just be able to install Steam and run games, like wouldn't that be amazing? I don't know. I thought it was a compelling article, but it's also a lot easier said than done. But again, if Apple wanted to do it, they could probably figure it out. Let's be real. Boot camp, you can do it, but boot camp, you have to basically start, if I recall correctly, maybe it's different now, but you had to basically boot into Windows separately from your Mac. There's, I think it's called Parallel, or maybe it's Parallel, but it's an app you run on your Mac, and then in the app you have a Windows like instance running, and you could play games through that. But I think all of that is a little bit too clunky for this to work. The way they'd have to do it is they would have to get native Apple support for Apple Silicon, Apple drivers for all these newer games. It would be like a whole thing. You can't boot camp now with Apple Silicon. Oh, well, there you go. I haven't tried it. I have a MacBook. I don't actually know if it's MacBook Air or just MacBook, but I think it's an Air actually. I got it on like a deep sale for like $700. And I mean, it's awesome. I think it's a MacBook Air. Yeah, it's one of these. It's like this exact one. So I have one of these that I do emails on and I write scripts on and stuff. And it's stupid fast and the battery life's insane. It's crazy what these things can do. Yeah, it's like from 1,200. I got it for like 700. I don't remember how. It was like a Best Buy deal or something. And then I had like a 10% off coupon with the Best Buy stuff. I don't remember how I did it, but it works very, very well. And they brought back the MagSafe. Midnight, that's the color I have. Midnight. But like, just imagine if they brought it. It's like the MacBook Pro, like these sexy machines. If they brought this and you were able to game off of it, I think that would be like a no-brainer. The displays are crazy. The computers are super powerful. It's just that they have not invested the time or effort into supporting that type of activity. But seriously, Apple Silicon is outrageous. Looks like I'm wearing like a Speedo or something. My shorts are riding up. Oh no. Oh geez. My 2019 MacBook Pro can barely run Counter-Strike. I think that, but the chips are actually very, very powerful. So I think it's just an optimization issue, but they have not put any effort into it. And they haven't forever. Apple has never prioritized gaming. I mean, back in like 2009, 2010, they were porting some games to Mac and you could buy them on the App Store, but really it was not a priority for them. And it's because it's a different infrastructure and it's a totally different architecture for getting it working. So I understand it's not as simple as like, oh, just figure it out. It's very, very difficult to port a game built for Windows to run on a Mac OS. It just is. And on Apple Silicon, I'm sure it's tough. But if that was their next frontier, if that's where they wanted to focus, instead of this stupid AR headset, I think that would be a much better, much more better use of their money. Because presumably they've spent billions on developing this AR headset, and it seems like even Apple is aware that it's going to do terribly. Like it won't sell at all. It's doesn't really have a market. Yeah, this thing. I showed this the other day, but like they've spent billions of dollars developing this headset that will require a man purse, a MERS, for you to carry on your person, wired to the headset to run it because they don't have a battery on it. Like it's insane. And they're spending all this money getting this thing out this year, presumably, And this thing also is going to cost $3,000, according to the leaks that they have. Just ridiculous. It's insane. And then they're doing all of this when going after gamers seems like just a built-in way to make money. Because, like, you know how crazy Apple fans are. If Apple fans who are also gamers would have the ability to play games on their Apple devices, they would love it. What's the point of that, though? Apparently nobody knows. Like, even Apple engineers who have spoken anonymously to press and stuff, Apple engineers are saying, oh, it's pretty clearly a solution in search of a problem. It is a product that they built because they thought it was cool, but nobody really knows why you should use it. It's like, that's cool, but why though? Yeah. Also everyone has an iPhone, so yeah, that's true. The bot is delayed. Yeah. Yeah, Rock, you got it. I'm pretty cynical that Tim just wants his legacy product. Maybe, I mean, honestly, with all of this, it is just a matter of figuring out what, like, I think it was the original iPad, the original Apple Watch, all of those things sucked in the first iteration. So in a few years, it'll probably be good. But as for right now, this ain't it. Now, let's talk about the Activision stuff. Let me pull up their little stock ticker. Wait for all of the ads to run through, trying to get me to stop all the... Okay. So for those of you not familiar, somehow the Activision Blizzard deal has been in the hands of regulators for a little while. And up until very, 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 very recently, it was pretty much a like, okay, this is going to go through. Like, this is pretty much set, especially after the UK walked back their major concern for the deal. It was like, okay, so this is probably good. We're probably okay. And now something just happened, a little tidbit. Basically, I woke up to a little alert on my phone, and it's like, oh, one of your holdings in my Fidelity brokerage account has dropped by whatever my threshold was, like 5%. And so I pulled it up and I looked at it and I was like, oh, shoot. And what I saw was this. Yesterday, it was trading about $86 a share. And then overnight, it dropped down to $78. So we saw an $8 drop just overnight. That constituted at the time like a 7% drop, 8% drop. Or as much as 10%, really. And since then, it's dropped even further. It's now at like 76, which is about 12%. And it's been floating around there for the rest of today. What does this mean? What happened? What caused this? Well, Microsoft offered $95 a share. So they offered them right about here. So in a perfect world, if the deal were going through, the stock would be trading right up here where my mouse pointer is at 95. The only reason it's trading below that is because of uncertainty, of risk, because people were trading it and estimated about a $10 risk per share that this wouldn't go through. And if we back up, and show, say, a 6-month period, you can see that as time has gone by, it was trading at 76 back in February. And then we got some news that they were walking all these problems back. They were pretty sure that this deal was probably going to go through. So it shot up to like 84, 85. It's been trading there. So people are pretty confident it's going to go through. And then last night, just out of nowhere, it plummets. What happened? Well, the British antitrust regulator group that was looking at this on Wednesday dealt a major setback to Microsoft's plans to acquire the video game giant Activision Blizzard for $69 billion, blocking the proposed deal and handing a notable win to government and forces around the world who want to rein in big tech and to Sony ponies. So what was their justification? Well, what they said was, quote, in deciding that Microsoft's proposals to ensure the acquisition did not harm competition failed to effectively address the concerns in the cloud gaming sector. A nascent part of the gaming industry, the Competition and Markets Authority inflicted a possibly fatal blow to what would be the largest consumer tech acquisition since AOL bought Time Warner 2 decades ago. The surprising ruling was a clear victory for proponents of regulatory or regulating tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, and all of those. Their efforts, fueled by fears that the companies wield too much power over online commerce and communications, have been stymied in the United States by recent court losses and legislative failures. This is a very big win for the broader effort to realign antitrust enforcement, said William Kovacic, maybe, a former chairman of the Federal Trade Commission. Microsoft said it planned to appeal the ruling. Now, what the important bit here is that they failed, according to the regulators, they failed to effectively address concerns in the cloud gaming sector. I'm going to have to pull it up on my phone because I don't want to log into, well, actually, maybe I could do it this way. Hold on. I have a subscription to Seeking Alpha, which is where I go for a lot of my financial stuff. But I don't want to pull it up because I also have all of my financial stuff tied to it, so I don't want to dox myself or go into all of that. That seems like a bad idea. So I'm going to try to pull it up here, and then we can just look at it separately. What if I do this? Nope, that didn't work. Okay, let's just do this. I think this works. Let me just check, make sure nothing important is on the screen. Okay, yeah, I think we're good. So what they said was Activision shares dropped 8% as the UK blocks the Microsoft acquisition due to antitrust concerns. Microsoft's vice chair and president Brad Smith said the company remains committed to the deal and will appeal to the Competition Appeal Tribunal in the UK to try and get it flipped over. The UK regulator's decision focused on Microsoft's position in the cloud gaming and potential for the merger to lessen competition in the future. This is what we're going to focus on here in just a second. I believe the deal may still go through, though. The odds, however, have been significantly hurt by the UK regulator's decision, making it 60 to 80% likely to be blocked. So it could still go through, but now it's really iffy. Really, really, really iffy. I believe it's best to reduce or sell Activision, reevaluate, or possibly re-enter at a lower price as the current risk profile is not favorable. Looking for a portfolio, blah, blah, blah. So what they went in, the CMA basically killed this deal because it fears Microsoft, its position in the cloud gaming space. They didn't like the remedies Microsoft proposed. Here are the problems with blocking the merger on these grounds, though. And this is the problem, what they're about to go through. Cloud gaming is currently tiny market as a percentage of the gaming market. Cloud gaming is only starting to grow and anything can happen. A potential substantial lessening of competition is a big future maybe. Basically, what they did is they came in and they said, hey, we're not going to let you buy ATVI because you have Microsoft Azure, which is a huge, very, very important and very, very powerful cloud system. It's their version of AWS basically, but on steroids. It's badass. But what they said is because you're buying ATVI and you have this cloud sector dominance, it's a concern that you're going to buy this, and then in the future, if cloud gaming becomes the main, the primary means of gaming, like people were saying years ago, where it's everything's going to be on mobile back in 2013. Now everybody's saying everything's going to be on cloud gaming. Maybe, but this is all maybes. They're blocking the deal based on a maybe, which previously hasn't, that's not how that works. You can't do that. That's just not how that works. So what they go on to say is, therefore, if Microsoft isn't allowed to buy ATVI, any future decisions should apply to other mergers as well, if you're being fair. If Apple's going to buy some company that's in a sector that one day could be awesome. Like say even Meta buying Oculus back in the day. They could have blocked that because maybe VR and AR is going to be super huge in the future, and them owning Oculus will give them an unfair advantage over other companies. It's like, okay, but like that's not the case right now. You're saying all of this on a big maybe that maybe you're actually going to have dominance in the market for some reason that we don't currently have. It's just a really, really flimsy way of knocking it out. Microsoft's perceived competition or competitive advantage is heavily supported by the CMA by arguing Microsoft has its own cloud infrastructure in Azure. However, this seems to disregard that just because you're doing something in-house doesn't mean there's no cost to it. An interesting paragraph by the CMA in its decision said, quote, "We are concerned that making Activision's titles exclusive to Microsoft's cloud gaming service would harm competition, particularly since our view is that Microsoft already holds a strong position in this market by virtue of its unparalleled advantages through its ownership of Windows, its cloud infrastructure, and its existing catalog of first-party titles. There are a few 16 emerging rivals with their own respective strengths, such as Amazon, Sony, and Nvidia, but none seem as well positioned as Microsoft in this market. We consider that Google's recent decision to shut down its cloud gaming service Stadia shows that merely having some strengths relevant to cloud gaming is not enough to guarantee a platform success." So again, the whole thing is based on, we're not going to approve this because we think bringing these games to the cloud service, the xCloud system, is unfair because Microsoft has a huge advantage in that sector already. Again, big maybe, because cloud gaming is a very niche thing right now. The author said, "It's my view that Microsoft can still get this over the finish line, but there's no doubt this hurts the odds really badly. The only reason the stock is down only 8.76%, now it's closer to 11 to 12%, is that there may be some truth to the idea that ATVI's downside isn't that bad if the deal were to break. Because basically it's now more likely the deal doesn't go through than that it is going to go through. But I'm not sure about the exact odds, but this seems like 60 to 80% likely to somehow get blocked, whether it's the US or in Europe or in the UK. My last argument in the article was basically, 1, the spread is wide, the downside may not be all that bad, and 3, it's a vertical merger. It's a simple argument, but that doesn't mean it can't hold up." In other words, the only reason this hasn't been, like, this didn't drop to 50, because if we go back to, if we go back here, and we say go back 2 years, 3, I mean, you can see back in the day, they were trading up at like $100 a share, $90 a share, 97, 95. And then they dropped all the way down here when they got into some real trouble back in late 21, and they were trading down at like 57. And then the offer for the acquisition came in and the stock shot up. But what they're saying now is the reason the stock isn't trading even lower than this is probably because if the deal doesn't go through, the stock's still worth probably around 75 to 80 bucks a share, maybe more. In which case it's like, yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal. So who knows? There's no doubt that this makes the deal very unlikely to go through. Like he said, as much as 60 to 80% is the chance that this doesn't work and that they just have to figure something else out. Do I think Microsoft walks away entirely? No, I think they probably go after King. Maybe they go after the mobile sector and try to just acquire them. But this is not something that will resolve like in the next month or two. It's probably something that is going to go on for another year or two, which is just, it is what it is. So as for investors wanting to put the money on the deal, the question is like, does it even make sense right now? And frankly, it's really up to each individual. If you think that the UK regulators are going to look at the appeal and are going to be like, this seems like shaky grounds to reject something, then put your money on the table. But more than likely, to me, it seems like this is less about the individual arguments being put forward by Microsoft and by the regulators, and it's much more about trying to rein in big tech, which, as I've said, I'm down for. I think there's many, many great arguments for why this shouldn't go through. I don't like the idea that Microsoft can just buy up whatever huge company they want. I don't love that. I really don't. Until yesterday, as did many other financial analysts and many investors, this deal seemed like a pretty sure thing. And then the UK comes out of nowhere with this, even though they said that this wasn't a major concern of theirs. And they try to reject the offer. They can still appeal it. And who knows, maybe the appeal board will overturn the decision and the deal will be allowed to go through. But as of right now, the people who really know what they're talking about are saying it's probably like a 30% chance that it goes through. So, what are you going to do? The UK is just being quirky, Luke. Quirky and fierce. I don't know. Is this going to stop Microsoft? No, they're going to keep appealing. They're going to keep trying to get this thing across the finish line. And like I said, even if they only pick up King, or even if they only acquire some segment, it's whatever. They'll still get something, and they're just going to move on to the next acquisition and to the next stuff. Microsoft's sitting on a huge pile of cash that they want to use for this stuff. So this is far from the end of Microsoft's acquisition project. Like, if anything, they're going to look at this, learn from what upset the people, the regulators, and they're going to try to reevaluate and approach it in a different way. I don't know if they can do something where they say like, hey, what if we don't bring it to our xCloud system? What if we don't bring it for like 5 years? How about that? Because again, this whole thing is just like the regulators are saying in the future, cloud gaming may be a big thing. Right now it's not, but in the future, cloud gaming could be huge. In which case, Microsoft owning Activision Blizzard would then give them a super unfair advantage, because then they'd have all these games on the xCloud thing, which is the biggest thing in this brand new huge market. But it's not a huge market right now. So it's all speculative. It would be like going back to the 80s when companies were emerging, like telecommunications companies were emerging, and blocking acquisitions because one day cell phones might be a thing. It ended up that they were a thing, but you don't get to just assume that to enforce your regulations haphazardly. And again, like that standard, because again, this whole thing is supposed to be based on standard. If you do one thing for this company, you have to do it for this other company. If you set that standard, very few companies will be allowed to merge now because everything is potentially problematic. Everything, Just send it to it. It's just eating away at your sanity. Yeah, for real. So anyway, that's the whole Activision Blizzard thing. As of right now, I have to do some more digging to decide if I'm going to continue holding. As you guys know, I try to put my money where my mouth is with this stuff. So I bought like 25 shares, I believe, of Activision Blizzard. Just because, like, if I can take a little bit of Microsoft money, if the deal goes through, why not? I'd be stupid not to. So I'll have to decide if I want to keep holding that, or if I want to sell it, or if I want to double down and put more money in. I don't know. I haven't decided, because I don't make emotional decisions when investing. We look at the numbers, gang, squad. That's what we do. But I'll keep you guys updated once I do decide, because I'm not sure. I totally agree, Peter. Given internet infrastructure in the US, cloud gaming is a really hard sell. I totally agree. In the US, it is unacceptable how terrible the internet infrastructure is. It's amazing. Like I told you guys the time I went to the company, and I was like, I would really like gigabit Ethernet in this house. I'll sign up with a business account. I'll do all of that. I just need gigabit because I do all of this entertainment video production stuff, so I need that. And they said, okay, yeah, totally. We ran the numbers. Like, it's a 2-year plan. Yeah, 2-year plan. Okay, run the numbers. It's going to be about $1,800. It's like, okay, wow. Okay, so $1,800 for like 2 years. So that, I mean, it's expensive, but $1,800 divided by 24 for 2 years, $75 a month. I mean, I can deal with that. Okay. And they're like, no, $1,800 a month. I'm sorry, what? They wanted to give me Ethernet here. They wanted to charge me $43,000 because they wanted me to basically pay for them to come in and run the Ethernet wires under the streets and stuff with whatever machines they have to do that with. And then they were going to bring Ethernet to the rest of the neighborhood, charge them for it, and, you know, they would get to save money on it. But I had to pay for the money, or I had to pay the money to bring Ethernet to the neighborhood. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what? What? I was like, no, I'm not going to pay $43,000 for that. Like, I'll just deal with whatever your other package is. And what's infuriating is that, like, the neighborhood a block away has Ethernet. They have gigabit Ethernet, but we don't. I was like, at least, like, meet me halfway. Like, can we talk about it? Can we negotiate? Because, again, they bring it to this neighborhood. The rest of the neighborhood is going to be super excited and is going to probably upgrade their plans and get more bandwidth, whatever. But I'm just going to pay for the investment to do that. Like, what? It's amazing to me. I could not survive without fiber. I don't know how a YouTuber could. Very carefully. Yeah. No, it's a little frustrating. Yeah, skill issue should live on that bus. Yeah, for real, dude. It's just like, it's amazing. Like, the infrastructure here is so outdated. It's all still like the copper wires. Everything is built for dial-up. It's horrible. It's really, really bad. Become a Florida man finally. I'm feeling it, Steffi. I don't know. We went to Florida, or we're going to Florida in October. We went to Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is pretty. I'll give you that. Also, can you see it in the white of my eye? I like burst a blood vessel. You see the little red dot? See that? I'm dying. Austin, Texas was pretty. It was pretty nice. Lots of people are moving to Austin. It's very nice. I will say, though, stupid expensive. Like, stupid expensive. We went to a barbecue restaurant. They said it was the best barbecue in Austin. I don't remember what it's called. It was like Terry or something. Terry's barbecue, something like that. And we went there. Very good barbecue. But it was like 40, 50, 60. One of the meats was $80 a pound. And like, wet, juicy barbecue is heavy. So I got like 3 or 4 slices of this brisket. Each slice was maybe like that thick and like that long. I got like 3 or 4 of them, and that was like 0.8 pounds. Like, that was almost $40 worth of brisket. I was like, oh my God. And once they cut it, you can't tell them to put it back. They can't reattach it. Terry Black's. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was very good. It was great barbecue. I have no doubt it was the best barbecue in Texas, or in Austin. But dear God Almighty, it was so freaking expensive. And that was just like one of the restaurants we went to. A bunch of the other places we went to were also super, super pricey. We went to a park afterwards to let Lachlan run around, and there were couples walking their kids through the parks, and they were all like 20s, maybe early 30s at the oldest. And so they're very young couples, and they're all dressed head to toe in like the Fabletics, Lululemon, Gucci headbands. They're all wearing their Rolexes. They've got their, you know, whatever. I don't remember what it is. What was it? Submariners. They had some Submariners on. I recognize one. I can picture it. I don't remember. I don't remember what it was called. I'm looking at the at the website, because it was one of these. Because it was this guy that was dressed like head to toe, very it was a Daytona. I think it was gold in the back too. Yeah, so this was like a $40,000 watch minimum. Like, and they were all dressed head to toe in this level of stuff. They're all just super freaking rich. And I understood why people say that Austin is like the Boulder of Texas, because it is stupid expensive and everybody there is super rich. Gold Daytona feels old, screams old man. This was like a late 20s Asian dude who had one of the cutest like daughters you've ever seen. Adorable, carried her around in a wagon. They played with Lockie and they were super cute. But geez, like just loaded. Yeah, lots of tech companies in Austin. I believe it. That it was just, you drive through the streets like to that Terry's barbecue place, and it's just oceans of Tesla Model S's, loads of, you know, the Corvettes, saw a few Lambos, a couple of Bugattis. Like, it's just, it was crazy. It was crazy. I just was not ready for that. Tech's been rough these past few months. So yeah, tech Q1 was really rough, got laid off. Yeah, it was definitely very tough. They, once Q2 hit and tech started hiring again. Well, one of the things that was amazing, Ethan, is that with like Elon coming in and firing so many people at Twitter, what everybody realized is that these tech companies, they're hiring people, and they've been doing this for years. They hire talented developers, coders, designers, and they hire them even if there's no work for them to do. It's why the meme is that, like, if you work at Twitter, you don't do anything all day. You work at Facebook, you just go and get coffee from the company bar, and then you go home. Like, you work 20 minutes and you're done, and you make $1 million a year. And that's the perception people have, because for a lot of segments of those companies, that's how it works, because they're not really interested in necessarily having you do the work. They want to keep you away from the competition. They want to keep you and your talent out of the hands of the competition. And so it's less about having, you know, getting an employee who can do good work that you pay them to do. And it's much more about keeping you out of the hands of the people we're competing with. Which is why, like, Elon walked in, fired hundreds of people, literally decimated the total number of employees at Twitter. And everybody was like, oh, well, Twitter's going to go belly up. Twitter's going to just immediately shut down overnight. And like, yeah, there were some hiccups. There were some glitches. Yeah. But the website's still running, still has billions of users. And it's because a lot of those people were not necessary for the company. That's why, like, and I don't think you can run a social media company the same way you run an engineering company like Tesla or something, which is why they've run into problems with advertisers and profitability. But it's because Elon walks in and wants to run it like he runs Tesla or SpaceX. If you don't do anything, you're out. If you are not a good, you know, employee, you're done. Whereas Twitter and Facebook and Apple and these guys, they come in and they're like, well, as long as you're not working for Meta, we're happy. Apple's like, as long as you're not working for Google, we're happy. We're good. It's just a different mentality. It's a different way that these companies work. And the other thing is that, the other thing that one of the guys I follow that writes articles on financial news and stuff, he said, really interestingly, it's like, I have no doubt that a lot of these companies overhire and hire too many employees so that when financially difficult times come, or when you miss earnings or something goes wrong, they can fire those people, signaling to shareholders that they're serious about cleaning this mess up and making progress and fixing the problem. And then they just ride out the wave, and that boosts the stock price because everybody's like, wow, they're taking this seriously. Wow. Ooh. They fired. I mean, Microsoft fired 10,000 people. They're serious about this. when in reality, those 10,000 people probably didn't even have a lot of stuff. Like they weren't core employees, because clearly they weren't, because they were able to be fired. Whereas if you're a core, you can't really just fire them. I do feel for a lot of those people though. My dad works with Microsoft in like, my understanding is it's like a tangential company that works with Microsoft. So it's all kind of interconnected. And my dad knows a lot of people that were laid off in the last round. So I feel for those people, because it's just horrible. You get laid off, you don't know where to go. But man. But the question is Twitter the same thing than SpaceX? Can you use people at Twitter like he does at SpaceX? Well, what he did, Dape, was, and this is apparently a true story. What he did is he went into Twitter and he had a meeting with a bunch of managers, like not super high level managers, but like mid-level managers. And he asked each of those mid-level managers to give him a list ranking their best coders, their best programmers, best designers, their best underlings. And he's like, and this will tell me who to keep and who to get rid of. And he took that list that each of those managers gave him, fired all the managers that made the list, and then promoted the top employee that they had listed into the manager position and just cleaned out. And it's hardcore. It's cutthroat. But it was just because he was like, yeah, I realized a lot of these companies, they have managers that don't know really what they're doing. And they are managers because they were better at like schmoozing up to the boss, but they weren't necessarily the best at coding or doing the work. They were just good at handing the work to other people. And so I found the people that were the best and at doing the work, and then kicked them out. Like, it's pretty hardcore. It's pretty hardcore. But I mean, that's how Elon has run all these companies. And honestly, he's had a lot of success with it. Say what you will about Elon. Like, people are like, oh, well, he's gotten credits from the federal government to build Tesla. Yeah. Apple's gotten credits from the government too. So has Lockheed Martin. So have all of these other companies. Sure have. Microsoft, all of them. Sure have. If that's all that it took to be a super successful, like the richest man in the world, then a lot of people would be on that level. Clearly, he's capable of running like a decent business. Like, you don't run Tesla and SpaceX literally like building space travel machines. Like, it's insane. And the Starlink thing is also insane that works now. I know like 10 people or thereabouts that use Starlink for their Wi-Fi. Like, they literally just put up a dish on the outside of their house and then they have internet. It's amazing. It's crazy. Like, that he's just running all of these companies at the same time. Is he Tony Stark? No, but clearly he's just got this mentality of, oh, we're just going to do it, whatever. It's like the story of him wanting to go and try to build tunnels underneath, I think it was Los Angeles or maybe Vegas or something. I think it was Vegas. And they were like, no, you can't just get a permit to build tunnels. You'd have to go through the city and the governor would have to approve it. And it would be this whole thing. And he's like, what about permits for like holes, like digging a pit? They're like, what do you mean? Well, does it say how deep the pit can be? They're like, no, as long as it doesn't like break into groundwater. He's like, so I could get a permit for a pit and then I just dig a super deep, super long winding pit that comes out on the other end. And I connect 2 pit permits. And they're like, I don't see why not. So and again, maybe it's just an urban myth at this point, but one of my professors told that story of him just getting 2 pit permits to build tunnels underneath a city. And nobody else had really thought of just doing that. Everybody was like, well, we wanted to build tunnels under Vegas to try to solve the traffic problems, but there's so much bureaucratic crap, and it was just a big deal. And he's like, I'll just get 2 pit permits for like $50 a piece, and I'll just go do it. And so, you know, they did it. And, you know, that whole project hasn't really gone anywhere, but, you know, maybe one day it will. Anyway, let's look at Zelda Tears of the Kingdom preview, because IGN got to play it. IGN got to play it. I know, Rocky. I'm setting it up.
The Legend of Zelda.
Ah, shut up.
The Tears of the Kingdom.
Shut up. Do. Okay. Let's see.
The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom may have the highest expectations put on any Nintendo game in recent years. Not only is it the latest release in the storied Zelda franchise, it's also a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, regarded by many to be one of the best games of all time. Recent trailers have revealed an emphasis on building incredible machines with a new suite of tools, a seeming nod to the network of Zelda fans who have pulled off amazing feats in Breath of the Wild. And while Nintendo is still maintaining the mystery around much of the game, our extensive hands-on with the new tools showed an incredible amount of creative problem-solving and thrilling traversal in this ambitious sequel.
I've been really impressed that they are keeping, as usual, they're keeping a ton of stuff super secret. And even still, like, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. Man.
My hands-on demonstration was composed of 2 parts. First, I began with a short segment on the ground, with the simple objective of getting past some enemies and into a tower. This was mostly just for the sake of testing the waters, with the array of new tools before preparing to dive into the deep end. While the most obvious path was to go up a ramp structure through a handful of enemies, there were much easier ways, and while there were strict limitations on where I could go during the demo session, there were almost no restrictions on what I could do within the spaces provided. My first approach was the straightforward one: stride into the enemy base with my sword and challenge enemies to combat. This was destined to fail, and I knew it, not least because I'm severely out of practice in Breath of the Wild's combat, but I thought it was worthwhile to try regardless. I was handling myself fine against a Bokoblin, but his nearby Moblin friend took notice of the scuffle and came to help, and I was caught off guard. That was the end of that life. For my second attempt, I decided to use the new building tools to circumvent the enemies altogether.
It's weird. I don't like that they're not showing, like, they didn't share the gameplay from his session. I don't love that. It's just annoying. I don't think they'll release it, Crimson, because why do they have to release it? Everybody's going to buy the game anyways.
The Ultra Hand ability, the new marquee building tool that lets you create complex structures and machines, can grab just about anything that isn't connected to the ground, but I didn't happen to have any flying implements around me. Rather than needing to build everything from scratch each time, there is a streamlined option for summoning fully formed vehicles. So for the sake of expediency and getting to know the tools, I summoned a small, simple, but functional hot air balloon. A dragon-headed machine part faced upward into the balloon and breathed fire when struck, taking me on a straight vertical ascent. Once I had gained enough height over the enemy base, I simply hopped off the balloon and hang glided my way past them to the goal. Then I was ushered into the second, much more expansive part of the hands-on demo. This one took place in the Sky Islands, with more open-ended goals.
The Skylands!
And a massive amount of space to explore. I was given an objective: try to island hop your way over to a distant floating landmass, and very few limitations. I wasn't allowed to dive back to the ground.
That's kind of fun. It's like a preview event, but they're challenging the previewers, and they're just like, yeah, go in there and figure it out. Just figure it out. Do whatever.
And a few select islands were off limits. But other than that, I was just given some tools and told to explore. The same streamlined building tool was still available, and I also had access to a Zonai parts distributor that Nintendo cheerfully nicknamed the Gumball Machine. It's easy to see why, as it both looks and acts like a candy dispenser. You insert some cores, and you get a random assortment of Zonai machine components in return. The Ultra Hand can stick together anything from the world, like felled trees or rocks, along with any of the machine-like Zonai parts. Those include fans, the aforementioned fire-breathing dragon head machine, a piston that launches objects, or you, on a regular rhythm, and most entertainingly, rockets. They look and act exactly like rockets, which includes launching you into the atmosphere with massive propulsive force. There's also a control yoke Zonai part, which not only lets you steer vehicles, but also activates whatever engine type you've attached automatically. The Ultra Hand is remarkably easy to use once you get used to it. You can stick parts together in just about any configuration you can imagine, and the tool lets you snap to certain angled degrees. Since it's all physics-based, symmetry equals stability. The game understands this and gives you a little help blocking, for example, a second rocket at the same angle as you placed the first. It only took a few minutes of toying with the feature before I felt like I completely understood how to use it.
Dude, the speed runs for this game are going to be insane. Like, can you imagine? Already in Breath of the Wild, it was pretty crazy. People would like do the thing where they find a boulder and then they freeze it and then they whack it 15 times and then they hop on at a right angle and then they go flying with the rock. And that was already insane. And now, imagine what you're going to be able to do with this. Like a sheer madness. I can only imagine. But this is one of the things that I find like so, I find it so impressive when developers pull it off. When they have a game system that can be broken and they welcome you to break it. They're like, yeah, there's this thing, have fun. And you're like, but what if I break everything with it? And they're like, yeah, that's the point. Go crazy. Whatever. Here's a hammer and here's a bunch of glass stuff. I find it awesome. I find it awesome.
And while my designs weren't anything too impressive, they were often perfectly functional, with minimal control fussing. Sometimes the island hopping solution was obvious. A couple of fans and a flat surface can obviously be put together to make a floating platform and reach new heights.
I never realized I needed Kerbal Space Program Zelda. But this is everything I ever wanted. Kimbis, thank you for the 2 months. If you're interested in a series involving ships around Titanic's time, I recommend 1899 or Deep Seas. The first is a Mind F, and the later is kind of weird. Titanic's time, I recommend 1899 or Deep Sea. Okay, I will add those here. In my browser. 1899. Oh, it's on Netflix. Sweet. Yeah, I probably would love this. I just find that time period really fascinating. It's the reason I like going through those like Sherlock Holmes movies. Also like the Victorian era just in general. Before that, I really like. I just all of it. Let's see. Donut got canceled already. Oh, that's a bummer. Can you roast Ubisoft after this? Their delays are so annoying. He's like, can you just roast him a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. I the last thing they did, the very last most recent thing. Well, actually, no, I don't think that's true because they just did something with Tom Clancy or something. I don't remember. But one of the last things they did, that X-Defiant actually looked pretty good. People are really, really liking it. So I've not tried it, but I've heard good things. People seem to think that it could be a good competitor to COD, but who knows? Do I like Formula One? Not really. I mean, I don't really watch it. I don't really watch many things. I'll be real. I don't have anything against it. I just, same with like football or baseball or golf or something. Like I can enjoy them each in like individually, but I don't sit and watch sports or anything. I don't keep up with it. Let's see. That is game development done right. Well, it's just like a ton of confidence. Like to just be like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Deal with it. Break the game if you want. Done right. Also, do we have any $100 a month subs? I actually think so. I put it in as a joke and we had one person sign up for it. Yeah. If you go and click the membership button, there's one called No One Should Choose This, and it's $100 a month. Yeah. I put it in there because they were like, we recommend having 3 tiers. And I was like, I don't know what to do with a 3rd tier. So I put it in there as like a joke that nobody should buy this. And then somebody did.
Heights, for example.
It was like a whole thing.
Other times, I would need to summon an airplane designed to cross a longer stretch of ground. Each time I made a little progress, I was encouraged to use the travel medallion to mark my progress. This handy returning feature lets you make a one-time fast travel point anywhere in the overworld, and you can recall it remotely to make...
That was a thing in the, was that from the DLC? Like, that was a thing in Breath of the Wild, too. Being able to set the fast travel point? Pretty sure.
Make a new one. This is especially useful for challenges like the one I was presented with, to cross several islands, since I could mark my progress as I went. By far my favorite moment of the demo, though, came from seeing how these tools could be used to solve puzzles. While I enjoyed Breath of the Wild in its sandbox model, I missed the clockwork precision of the classic Zelda puzzles and their intricately tailored solutions. I enjoy the feeling of finding the correct answer, which is slightly different than simply finding a clever way to exploit a physics system. To my surprise, Tears of the Kingdom bridged that gap by presenting open-ended, physics-based puzzles, but with solutions that felt so intuitive, I still got the satisfaction of finding my own complicated but correct way. At one point, I had to cross a wide chasm to another island on my left side, with a large structure as the pivot point between the two islands. I could move the structure by manipulating and turning a small model of it with my Ultra Hand. I found I could turn the structure so that a bridge extended to me, which would let me cross the structure itself, but then there was no way to get from there to the other island. Or I could turn the bridge towards the structure, but couldn't get to it. Either way, I was stuck, and my glider wasn't enough to cross the chasm. I needed to figure out how to cross onto the structure, then move it to serve as a bridge to the next island. After some tinkering, my solution was to make use of the new recall ability, which rewinds objects to a prior state. I moved the structure into position as a bridge to the second island, then moved it back to me on the first island. I started to cross, then hit it with recall, rewinding time so that it would move backwards and become a moving platform. I felt very clever for this, but at the moment, it simply felt like the right way to solve the puzzle. I needed a moving platform, so I made one. It was only afterward that a Nintendo rep told me I could have simply flipped the entire structure upside down, and it would have just made a normal bridge. Or, I realized, I could have moved it into either of the positions, and used a hot air balloon to gain some height, so I could glide over. I didn't actually have to MacGyver my way into making it a moving platform at all, but I instinctively read that as the goal, and the tools were flexible enough to let me solve it that way. I had a similar experience building my own aircraft to cross the final chasm to my goal.
And isn't that so refreshing to just be like, yeah, here's a bunch of tools, figure it out, and we're not going to stop you from making your own solution. Like, it's one of the things I can't stand is when you're playing a game and you figure something out, like this should work. This should work. I'm trying, like, what would be an example? I'm not even sure. But like, where you figure out, we've all been here, where you figure out a solution to the puzzle that should fix the problem, that should do it, and then it just doesn't let you. It just doesn't work. You know, it just breaks. This was a thing in like Hogwarts Legacy had this with a few puzzles where you should be able to move this boulder in this way by blasting it with this spell, but it doesn't work because they want you to use the Leviosa spell instead. So they just lock it unless you're using that one specific spell. And it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't make the world feel like it's actually responding to your actions. You're just going through the motions. Whereas this, it's like, yeah, figure it out. Do whatever you want. If you want to break it, whatever.
It was a metallic structure with a divot that served as a resting place for one of the plane parts, which had a fin that slotted in perfectly to act as a runway. I placed 2 fans atop the plane, then another identical plane piece on top, for a sort of Zonai version of the Wright brothers biplane. I placed the control yoke on top, but it occurred to me that the lower deck would have been a good way to transport items across large distances. How long that distance can be, though, is an open question. The Zonai machines appeared with battery icons, like the one on your cell phone. For the purposes of the demo, I had 3 large bars of battery, which was plenty to cross the gaps needed for our island hopping excursion, but I was also pre-equipped with a very full stamina bar for climbing, so Nintendo was definitely giving the press a leg up in that regard. I suspect that, like stamina, you'll progressively unlock more battery power for your Zonai devices. If that's the case, it's hard to say just how far you'll be able to go when the game begins, and whether you can ultimately build your way up to vehicles that can cross the entire map. Upon reaching my goal, I still had a few minutes left, and decided to devote them to searching the large island for combat encounters, so I could experiment with the new Fuse and other abilities. Fuse will be mostly associated with combat, but it has applications for exploring the world too. Fusing a sword with a rock certainly looks funny, and it makes your weapon more powerful and more durable, but the new DIY sledgehammer can also break open cracked walls and floors. I have to imagine there will be more applications of the Fuse ability itself unlocking secret areas. Combat is as engaging as you would expect from a sequel to Breath of the Wild, but the Fuse ability adds a new dimension of experimentation. A quick menu option lets you fuse items from your inventory to your currently equipped weapon, which I found slightly difficult to get a hang of in the heat of combat with an enemy bearing down on me. I also had to remember, for example, to switch to my bow before hitting the quick menu to try fusing something with an arrow, which led to more than a few mistakes on my part. There's definitely a learning curve, which feels like it'll make mastering combat and fusing on the fly that much more rewarding. That said, even mistakes are enjoyable. Like the Ultra Hand fuses a massive toy box, and you're encouraged to try different combinations just to see what happens. I tried attaching a bomb to a sword to see if hitting something it would just blow me up. And sure enough, yes. I attached a Keith's eyeball to a stick to see if it would heat seek like the arrow if I threw it. No luck. I was told later that attaching a wing to a weapon does, however, give it more airtime. Like the Ultra Hand building tools, the sheer number of different possible combinations and applications for Fuse is mind-boggling. I was hopelessly outmatched, however, as the nearest enemy was a massive golem-like creature. Even my best attacks barely dented it, and like my earlier encounter with the Moblin, I was too out of practice to stand a chance with the odds so stacked against me. But as the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, go back with a bomb sword and blow yourself up. I didn't win, but I was grinning the entire time. While the demo showed the massive scope and versatility in just a few small areas, it feels like I've barely scratched the surface. My demo included absolutely no story content, and I'm no closer to answering the question of whether Tears of the Kingdom will include more traditional Zelda dungeons. There's a lot of mystery left to uncover, even after receiving a much better sense of the new building tools. That mystery, like the brain-bending amount of customization and creativity that'll surely extend from these tools, will be something that players will have to explore together when the game launches on May 12th. Starting then, just like the first game, and perhaps even more so, the community of Zelda fans will get to plumb its depths together. Tears of the Kingdom looks to be Nintendo inspired by its own fans' creativity, and next month, that cycle will start all over again.
Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'll tell you what. It looks pretty good. It was funny. I did that one stream clip where I was like, yeah, I'm worried that this isn't going to stand out enough against against Breath of the Wild, especially technologically, because it's running on the same engine. It's on the same hardware that's 6 years old. I'm concerned about that. And again, you would have thought that I like sacrificed a baby on stream. Like, people lost their minds. Even though, like, I think most people are like, yeah, no, it's probably going to be a little bit of an adjustment coming off of like the PS5, everything running at 4K 60, and then going back to the Switch running at 1080p 30. Like, yeah, it's going to be an adjustment for a lot of people, and to pretend like it isn't, it's just dumb. Like, it's okay to say, yeah, I hope that I'm not thrown off by it. Because even in this footage we saw, there's some frame drops, there's some performance hitching and stuff. I don't think that means the game's going to be bad. Hold on, Young. I don't think that means the game's going to be bad, but it's just like, it will be an adjustment. It does matter. It will affect your time with the game. It just will. You can get 60 FPS if you have a modern TV with frame generation. I mean, if we're gonna start saying that, I mean, come on. Like, yeah, some of these TVs do like smooth motion stuff where they try to insert frames. They do black frame insertion and stuff. I sold a lot of those TVs back in the day, and it all generally looks like crap. There's a reason, like, NVIDIA has to use their GPUs and DLSS and their like very expensive GPUs to do this kind of thing, and why TVs have not just replaced those things. It's certainly going to be an adjustment, I think. Let's see. Playing Bloodborne right now, so it won't be an issue for me. Yeah, I guess we're used to it. Let's see. High Seas, not Deep Sea. It's in Spanish, really interesting. Also on Netflix. High Seas. Okay. I'll also pull that into the tab. Also on Netflix. Booyah. Thank you. Look it up. Let's see. But anyway. And yeah, Rex, the 30 or the frame generation and frame insertion technically are different. What like the 40 series graphics cards are doing is they're looking at frame 1 and frame 2, and then it's analyzing it and then uses the AI stuff to insert another frame that it calculates. More realistically, it's looking at frames like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then figuring out what 5 is most likely to be, and then they're combining all these together, and then it can insert a frame. What those TVs are doing is usually they're just taking frames 1 and 2, and then they blend them together and then create frame 1.5, and then they say that they doubled the frame rate, and it just hasn't. It's basically like really fancy motion blur, which is better than nothing for some people. For me, the artifacting makes it look way too blurry. Let's see. John Wick. No, I have not watched all of them. Started. Maybe we'll do like a whole stream where we just talk through those movies. I think that'd be fun. Why has no one made a TV with built-in console like Microsoft Xbox TV? They were trying to do the whole home thing. Why not integrate? Because TV tech and console tech improve at different rates. So if you like, most people, at least this is what it was when I was selling TVs, most people hold on to their TVs for about 10 years. They're recommended to only hold on to them for like 5 and to replace them at max of 7 years, but that's what these companies that are selling you the TVs are telling you to do because they want you to buy more. But most people hold on to their TVs for about a decade. And if you think you were doing that and you bought a console TV hybrid a decade ago, what would you be running? You would still be running an Xbox 360, maybe an Xbox One, depending on when you bought it, if you bought the newest one, whatever. That's how long 10 years is. So it will basically just hold you back when you don't need to. And so pretty quickly you'll stop using your TV console and just use the TV as a TV, in which case you just kind of overpaid, you know? OMG, Luke just said TV so much. I was getting flashbacks to E3 2013. Yeah, dude, that was so funny. There is one. I know Samsung's done the built-in like xCloud thing. They've done that where you can pair your Xbox controller direct to the TV and then you can stream xCloud to your TV directly. So I've seen that. It would only be worth it right when the new generation TVs come out. And also, it only works, like, how much money are you actually saving? You know, like, or is it saving you any money? You know, like, is it actually saving you? Probably not. Like, if it's $1,000 TV and then they put in an Xbox Series console into the TV, I guess it saves you a little space on your media center. So you don't have to have the big Xbox, but probably not much because they have to put that somewhere. They're going to put it in the back of the TV. So you're not really saving space. And even if they charge you like $200, $300 for it. So now that $1,000 TV is $1,200, but it has an Xbox built in. I just don't think many people would go for it. You know, do you have a TV in your studio, Luke? I have monitors that are the size of TVs. There's a monitor right there that's blocking part of the Lego Pyramid of Giza. That's a 32-inch 4K monitor. Pull my pants down and become decent. It's like I have this thing. This was used on the desk until very recently. I just kind of ran out of space for it, so I have to figure out what to do with this. But like, this is a big 32-inch 4K monitor. For a while, I had that 40-inch Samsung TV that I would keep like in the back corner, and I would use that for like, I originally wanted to use it to display like recent donators or people who super chatted, put their username up on it. And maybe we'll still do that. Or maybe I'll put a monitor here. And then when you donate or become a member, I put your name on it. I think that could be cool. The problem is, like, if it has soft depth of field and you put something back here, you're not going to be able to read it, you know? So it wouldn't actually be that cool of a thing. Whereas like here, I think you could probably still read it. So maybe we'll do something like that. I don't know. I have a bunch of little displays. I've got these. Like, these are little 1080p displays that they just connect through like micro HDMI or mini HDMI. But little 1080p displays. Maybe we put one like there to just display the most recent subs or members or something. I don't know. Is that Nikki's new streaming display? No, she's using my old curved 1440p monitor that is like 240 hertz. So she's using that upstairs, and she has the 3080. So, I don't know. Is her stream up and ready? She has almost everything she needs. We have to go up there and I have to help her like build the actual Streamlabs, whatever overlay, get the stream deck running and usable. And then she probably is going to want to experiment with it and try it a few times before she goes public because she's very anxious about it. But we'll figure it out. Slobs. Yep. I'm going for ease of use, and Slobs is very approachable. You know, Proto, good to see you. Joined really late today. If you can, again, can you repeat what you think of Jedi Survivor, like a summary? I think it looks awesome. The PC performance sounds utterly unacceptable, and I am pretty pissed that it, according to PC Gamer, even in cutscenes, drops to 15 frames a second at times. That's just not okay. They're saying it'll be patched. They're saying it'll run better at launch. We'll see. I don't know, but that's very, very concerning. If review copies and reviewers are getting a version of the game that runs at 15 frames during cutscenes on a 2080 Super, I'm worried. Because that's not something that just magically is fixed. You know, that's not a quick patch. That's a problem. That's a problem. So, as of right now, if I were getting the game on PC, I would be holding off. Fabi, I understand it to be running Unreal Engine 4, which is the same one Callisto Protocol, Gotham Knights, and Hogwarts Legacy ran on, which kind of explains a lot of this. Hopefully, Unreal Engine 5.1 and just Unreal Engine 5 in general runs better on PC. I don't know if anybody in chat has experience with it or knows anything about the engines. My hope, though, is that it runs better on PC than Unreal Engine 4, because Unreal Engine 4 has just been a disaster. Mr. Matty said the PS5 was stuttery as well. Yeah, and so did IGN. They said even on performance mode, it was struggling to hit 30 at times. So, Jedi Survivor's on 5? Oof! Hold on. Survivor Unreal Engine. This says it, Wikipedia says it runs on Unreal Engine 4. And as we all know, Wikipedia is always right about absolutely everything. They don't have... Do they have a source? Unreal... Future. In a 2023, Asmussen stated that it planned Star Wars Jedi series to be a trilogy with a possible third and final targeting Unreal Engine 5. So this one runs Unreal Engine 4, and the next one, the third and final installment, will target Unreal Engine 5. So there we go. Watch this loot. Hold on, Rocky. I swear to God, if it's another Rickroll, I'm gonna riot. Would be funny. Can a game look too real? Oh, I had their clip of AI NPCs pulled up as well. That's funny. But yeah, we can look at that. It has to be unexpected. Now I expect it, and you're gonna get me like when I really don't expect it. I don't know. It's gonna be funny, but I'm ready. Isn't Dead Island 2 running on Unreal Engine 5? I thought I saw that when I started the game. I thought it was also 4. Can somebody run through the differences between Unreal Engine 4 and 5? Basically, I don't know if there's an infographic to demonstrate this, but if you look at this, okay, so when comparing Unreal Engine 4 and Unreal Engine 5 for filmmaking, there's a few differences. We're looking at this also just like for video games, of course, but it's also used in filmmaking, and this will describe a lot of the same things. Both have a tremendous amount of potential, but UE5 expands on the creative ability of UE4 and creates a whole new experience to help storytellers create even more expansive and detailed projects. Probably the most significant difference between UE4 and 5 is the amount of polygons that can be used within the engine. Polygons are the shapes that build meshes inside of the game engine. While Unreal Engine 4 was able to handle a few million polygons at a time before loading and swapping things out, Unreal Engine 5 is able to handle up to 10 billion. $10 billion. That's straight silly. That's outrageous. Unreal Engine 4 versus 5. Okay, let's see this. Rocky just linked us this.
Back to another video, which is something slightly different today, but what we're going to be going over is I'm going to be comparing Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5 running the same project. So this is something which somebody asked in a comment the other day, which I thought was an interesting video idea, so I'm going to be going over something similar to that today. I say similar because obviously this is not a very scientific testing, because I'm just using my PC, not a variety of different ones, and not a low end. It's a fairly high-end spec PC, and I'll leave my specs in the description down below. But what I'm going to do is be testing the same map today, so in that sense, it is a fair test. So I'm going to be using Unreal Engine 4.
I expected Rickroll. I did too. Notice how I muted and swapped the camera?
I'm not going to be using any of the new UE5 features, i.e. nanite or world partition or anything like that, as this is just to test the underlying fundamentals of the engines that we get by default. So Unreal Engine 4 as it is, and Unreal Engine 5 as it is, which is going to be better, UE5 or UE4 by default.
Speed of loading the project, okay.
Unreal Engine 5 took only 4 minutes to open, and then another 21 minutes to load and compile the shaders. So as you can see there, Unreal Engine 4 took 50 minutes in total, and Unreal Engine 5 took 25 minutes in total.
Okay.
5 is a lot quicker to open it, but then it has a lot more of the loading to do once it actually opens, whereas Unreal Engine 4... So this is running smoother than it did before. Again, I'm averaging between 25 and 40 frames a second. It's pretty much the minimum and maximum I'm getting when I'm actually within the level, as you can see here. Let's go full screen in this as well, and then we also just press G to hide everything like so. Again, it doesn't look too bad, however, it doesn't also look amazing though. You can notice we're kind of losing a bit of quality on the trees the further back they go, and that's not just because of LODs. I think it's mainly the post-processing. As you can see,
that's Unreal Engine 4, and then Unreal Engine 5.
Of course, they mess pretty much the same as in UE4. Now, that might just be because that's the bottleneck of this project, rather than...
So it seems to be running better. Hello? Hi. Hi. Can you say hi, everybody? Bye. How'd it go? What is this? Oh, banana. Can I say hi, everybody?
The tire pressure sensor just went off.
Naturally.
Turning it off twice, and it keeps popping back on, so they didn't fill the tires appropriately.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Okay, who's on your shirt? Mickey. Mickey Mouse. Bread, do you want a bite?
We walked 3 miles during this appointment.
3 miles? I don't have milk down here. He's like, thank you, give me milk. Did you have fun with Mama? Yeah, Mama.
The Big O Tires was next to Grandpa's house.
Oh, yeah?
And there's a playground over there that we walked to that has a baby swing connected to an adult swing. So you get to sit across from them and swing together.
Oh, that's cute.
That was cool.
That's really cute. Oh, yeah, Nikki, show them your shirt. Expectant Patronum.
What's sad is these are the only ones that actually fit, and this one doesn't even fit. Like, I have a gap right at the bottom.
I got her that shirt.
Just pure baby.
I don't know when. Was it?
Christmas.
And she hasn't really worn it at all. But she's just now wearing it.
Because it matches my skin tone.
We're in the final phase. You can see my belly button through it. I don't know. It makes me feel like a middle-aged man on the beach that, like, isn't self-aware and has had too many beers. Like, Or
like,
is self-aware
like
and doesn't
Speedo?
care.
Maybe they're too self-aware. That's
It's like everybody's super stoked on me. It's cool.
It's a trucker belly, honestly.
And shout out to Mr. Caleb, Iron Cyclops. You guys know him. He is gonna be a dad very shortly, like a couple weeks.
Due dates in 3 weeks.
Like few weeks.
Yay.
Like very, very close.
Yay.
Yay. Oh, thank you. Tearing apart Hagrid's house. Slowly but
He
surely.
took Eric Gog off.
Oh, shields. Awesome. That's amazing. Insert stereotypical comment about getting sleep now before you can't. Lol.
That's the real trick.
We've all
You're not
heard it.
getting sleep now either. How old is your baby? 19 months.
Ah, little dude.
Almost 20 months.
Any dead advice? I've said this before to other people too. I might have said it to you as well. Stretch your lower back if it's your first. Like, no joke, as a dude, we're not used to like leaning over so much.
Carrying the
thank
weight
you.
of your family. I'm just kidding.
So like, no joke, my back, lower back was so sore for the first 2-3 weeks because you're leaning over all the time to like change diapers and pick up the baby out of the crib or bassinet, whatever. It will destroy you. Like, I wasn't able to really walk okay. I had to lower myself to the floor like an old man like that because it hurt so bad.
Here's my dad advice. Have snacks. Hide them everywhere. If she, at any point she gets really upset or cranky, just pull out a snack.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the couch, it's in the couch.
Get those like mini donuts
Been
from
living on
Hostess.
mini donuts.
Dude, get those, stash them everywhere.
I ate so much trail mix last time. I just had trail mix in bowls all around the house, and I was just eating raisins and M&Ms and peanuts for a very long time.
It's deadlifts. Yeah, deadlifts, or I mean, if you're expecting in 2 weeks, we're getting down to the wire. I would just say stretch, maybe get a heating pad now. You already have one probably. But like, no joke, I wasn't able to walk right for like 2 weeks when we had him, and nobody warned me. Everybody's like, get some sleep. That's true, but it's also BS.
But you can get sleep now. I can't get sleep now.
I'm saying, like, this is the stereotypical, like,
I
funny
hate that
grandma
advice.
thing where
It's
grandma's
so
like, get your
mean.
sleep now because you're going to have 18 years where you can't. It's like, okay, chill out. But for
Calm
real, the thing that I wish somebody had told me was prep your lower back, because it's just, you don't think about it. Whoa! Where did that copy of Battlefield 1 come from? It's on the shelf. Lockie's bringing me his
picks.
His curator picks for, I guess these are his recommendations for this week.
With the flag?
He picked up the red flag. Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh. Red flag, red flag, red flag. You're good at that.
You said, Dad, we went and played on the swing? Yeah.
Yeah.
These cool new parks have xylophones everywhere. So we got to make rockin' music. Yeah. Do you want salad for lunch, or do you want like cauliflower mac and cheese? What do you want?
Yeah, a salad with that blackened chicken sounds
You're running
delicious.
out of salads, babe.
I know. We
You
got to
have
get
2
more.
left.
It's so good.
I'm only buying 3 to 4 a week because you're out of control.
You got to get more.
You're gonna.
Oh, careful. That's daddy's. Tanner, my girlfriend's cravings were crazy. LMAO, pickles and peanut butter. Like, what is your body wanting? Yeah, that's extreme. Nikki hasn't really had a lot of weird cravings. Hi.
We've really been finding our voice today. Okay, should we go upstairs and go get some lunch?
Do you want to say bye-bye to everybody?
Bye.
Oh, done. Can I have a hug? Oh, thank you. I'm done with the hug. I like your Mickey shirt.
Say thanks, Dad. Got it from a second-hand store. I'm gonna curl up you.
So tall. So tall. Yeah. Can you say bye, everybody? Bye, everybody.
Go kiss. Mwah. No.
No kiss.
No kiss. Let's go get some food. We're gonna get some cheese and turkey.
Go get some cheese and turkey.
Cheese and turkey for my turkey.
Can you go with Mama?
Come on, baby.
No. No.
You make me feel so
You
loved.
gotta go eat. Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Come on.
Oh.
Bye, Dad.
You go
love
eat some
you.
snacks?
Last snack.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. Goodbye. What a goober. Today he loves Dada. Yeah. No, he's a good little fella. He's a good little fella. I'm conflicted. I know some people are really weird about having kids on camera. For me, I'm like, he's a baby. Like, what's he gonna do? And then people are like, well, you got to respect the privacy of the kid, and I understand that as well. Like, I get it. And I think as he gets older, he'll probably appear less and less, because right now he's a baby. Like, I don't know what people knowing what he looks like, what harm that does, but maybe I just am not aware. Maybe somebody hasn't explained it to me, but I don't know. When they start your stream with only your son and see you with the headset on, that would be funny. In some cases, kids can sue you when they grow up. I don't think that's a thing in the US, but it's interesting, like robbing them of their privacy. I get that. For me, I'm just like, yeah, he's my little dude. I like to share that with all of you. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But as he gets older, I think I'll probably be much more selective with when he makes appearances, for sure. Yeah, but it is something to think about. I think your stream is overall wholesome anyway. I think somehow Nikki and Lockie coming into the stream feels very normal. I agree. I don't think it feels weird. It's just they're coming by to say hi. I think sometimes, like, some people can frame it in a way that's uncomfortable, and they try to make it into, like, using it for clout or for attention online, and that's super cringe and gross. But we always, like, I don't know, for us, I think it's just they're coming to say hi. You know, and what's the harm in that? One day it probably will have to stop, and one day it probably will have to be, like, just not a thing we do. But when I was younger, this YouTube couple called Texan in Tokyo about an American woman who married this guy from Japan, and it was really cute and content was fun, but they made the decision to stop YouTube to raise their kid. Interesting. Yeah, especially, I guess if you're like a vlogger types, I would not be sharing like the day-to-day. I'm not really, weirdly, I'm fine with like them coming on to the stream for 5 minutes to say hi to everybody. I'm not super comfortable with like posting tons of Instagram photos and stuff like that. I don't really like that. For me, weirdly, that's where I draw the line. I don't really know why, but that's just where I'm uncomfortable. It's okay, Rocky. You were slowly but surely becoming more wholesome. I am not. We'll break Rocky down eventually. You watch Solid Rev channel? He talks about games with his son. His son is a teenager. Interesting. I have not. I might recognize them if I saw them, but that's like a fun thing to do. I do think it like, for me, it gets iffy when there's potential social stuff. So like if he was in school, I'd be much less comfortable with it. Just because like, I don't know, the whole thing's going to be weird when he goes into school, because a lot of people look at YouTubers in a certain way, or they want attention, and I don't want Lockie to have overly negative or even overly positive pressures from his friends because of what I do for work. You know, I just would rather it not be a thing. Keep it hush hush. Geohound, good man Luke, always with the most wholesome, mature takes. Much love to the Stevens family. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, we're trying. Trying. Yeah, it's very normal for your stream, but when someone from his school or somebody recognizes him, it's time to stop, maybe. Yeah, I think with a lot of this stuff, once it feels maybe uncomfortable, that's when it should just stop. I think for the streams, they are candid, they are wholesome. So I don't have a problem with him coming in for a shorter period. But it's also the reason, like, I don't love the idea of, like, streaming family events or streaming activities where a lot of my family is. Because I think there should be a barrier. And also, frankly, people get weird about it, dude. People get really, really weird about it. Like, if I say, oh, I'm going to take a picture and put it on my Instagram, I barely ever post to Instagram. I have, like, no following there because I'm not active on there at all. And even still, people get weird about it. It's like, oh, so like your fans are gonna see me? Like I guess, but like not really. Like, what do you mean? You could always talk to him when he's able to understand and see if he wants privacy or if he wants to join you sometimes. Yeah. Once he's able to have the conversation, I would love to do that. Yeah, but some people, man, some people are really weird about streaming and broadcasting everything in their life publicly, and I don't get that. I don't understand it. I watched a couple of videos, but I can see why that can be unsafe or uncomfortable for the kids, because to be fair, there are weirdos on the internet who want to know what he does to the kid. Yeah, don't know what that does to the kid. Yeah, there are a lot of weirdos out there. You're telling me about parasocial activity. We just dealt with one. Yeah, we did. That was a whole thing. By the way, Rocky, he started messaging me again. I've not responded or anything, but yeah, he's still trying. It's like a whole thing. The family vloggers that are recording the store, like, stop. Yeah, that, or like the weird people, like the dance mom types who are filming their kids doing dances for TikTok in the supermarket. That one really is uncomfortable. I'm still getting DMs too. Yeah. Oh, geez, dude. It's freaky. I'm glad he's in another continent because I don't think that's a stable person. And yeah, Adam, we talked about it. You go back in the VOD. But I do want to touch on this thing that Linus talked about with AI NPCs. As you guys know, I've been predicting for a long time, the future of games is not in improved graphics. It's not in ray tracing, destructible environments, anything like that. It is in AI, specifically tied to NPCs. Where I think we inevitably go is into the realm of fully, to steal a word out of Todd Howard's toolbook, or a rule book or whatever, radiant AI that runs through, think of, like, because it's just popular now, think of something with the capability of something like ChatGPT, but you can take an intelligent language model AI and then put it into the context of individual NPCs. You can reframe it and then package it within a game, or even running on a server that communicates with the game. So you could have full-on conversations with NPCs within a video game. Could be really, really interesting, and it could lead to some very, very interesting interactions. And apparently, game devs are starting to experiment with it and see some results that are really, really promising. I touched on, I believe, the thing that they're going to mention a little while ago on stream, but we're going to hear their takes because, of course, they're very techie and they're involved in this stuff a lot. So let's see what they have to say about this.
All right, why don't we jump right into our headline topic here today, which is AI agents gaining steam.
Yeah.
Why don't I read it, and then you can spend the next 25 minutes talking about what I read.
Sure, go for
There's
it.
been a surge in development of AI agents.
Interjection.
These are applications that allow large language models to operate semi-autonomously by feeding prompts to themselves until they have achieved a broad, general goal given to them by the user.
Sort of correct.
Currently trending on GitHub is auto-GPT, which uses GPT-4 to generate, prioritize, and execute tasks using plugins for internet browsing and other access.
I've not used auto-GPT. I do have the premium thing for GPT-4. And it's freaking awesome. But yeah, yeah, I'm not experimenting with it, but it's, from what I've seen, it's ridiculous. It's like actually crazy. It's our casual hard R man. Yeah, I just would casually use the hard R because it was funny, and we poor Luke is like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh man. Deskpad, when we are still working on the big thing is just it's very tough to get, like with these Chinese manufacturing centers, we can pay them to produce a sample, but it takes them like 2.5 weeks to send us the sample. So they send us a sample and we're like, oh, there's this huge problem with it. Fix it. Okay. They fix it, send us a new sample. It takes another 2 weeks. And then, oh, there's a slightly different problem. Fix it. They fix it. All of a sudden, a month and a half has gone by. Like, you're like, what the hell is happening? So it's a slow progress. What do you do with GPT-4? Every time I hop on, I'm like, write me a story, but I can't think of anything else. For me, it's like, it's really useful for figuring out, like I've used it a lot for investment stuff. So I'm like, okay, if I went back and I wanted to invest historically in, say, Microsoft as a company or in Amazon as a company, or one thing I asked it was, I wanted to see if this like stock strategy would work. So I was like, what would my average return be if I sold monthly put options with an 80% chance of profit at this strike price on a stock that averaged this price during the period? What would my net return be on the back end? And then it runs through all of these equations. It does it. And for me, I'd have to build a spreadsheet. It would take me an afternoon to figure it out. And for it just figures it out in like 10 seconds. Like, it's amazing. So for me, it's helped me make very informed investment decisions just because it can do all of the math for me in real time. So I don't have to deal with it. And it's basically, I use it for word problems, basically, like word math problems, like I would have had in college. Where it's like, okay, assuming that this stock price is here and the strike price of the call option is here, what are the odds of making it if the theta is this and if the delta is this? And it just figures it out. It's awesome.
It uses outside memory to keep track of what it's doing and provide context, which lets it evaluate its current situation, generate new tasks, or self-correct and add new tasks to the queue, which it then prioritizes. AutoGPT currently has a notable tendency to become distracted or confused when given complex goals, often getting caught in recursive loops and leaving tasks half finished. Users have been creating tools that allow AutoGPT to perform more tasks, including one that allows it to access and use Bitcoin wallets. Before I go any further, do you want to talk a little bit about AI agents? You said that...
Oh, no. Oh, no. The crypto bros are coming. Oh boy. I will say I'm really glad that the craziness of like the crypto bros and the NFT stuff, it seems to have mostly died out. There's still a handful. I still get a bunch of emails about like, hey, we'd like to for you to promote our NFT game and we'll pay you in NFTs. It's super, super cringe. It's so stupid. But in general, it seems to have died off a lot, which is awesome.
My definition was not quite correct, so I invite you to give a better one.
Yeah, it mentioned something about them being able to just give themselves more than one prompt.
Yes.
But a big part of the idea is that they can use others.
Oh yeah, Rocky, you're right. Sorry. Banana bread on my fingers. Sorry, you're right, I suck.
Systems. So like they can use an image generator, they can use some other model, whatever, services that aren't even AI based, etc. They can call out to other services. They don't just have to use their own stuff. Also, I like that we're calling them AI agents. AutoGPT has been used as like a what I'm calling like a Kleenex term.
Right.
Like a lot of people have been calling all of them AutoGPT, even though there is one specific one called AutoGPT. Whatever. The AutoGPT name is actually really good, which is why I think that's happening. Other people are calling them like baby AGI. I don't like that.
Sorry, like
Not a fan of that.
artificial general intelligence. Like,
Yeah, but they're calling it like a baby version because it can like task out to other things and improve on itself and do stuff like that.
This is like the whole thing where we rebranded machine learning as AI when that's not really
what it is,
right? That's just branding. We rebranded driving assists as autopilot.
Yeah, like
I promise we're not going to talk about him the whole show.
I do really like, yeah, auto-GPT is a fantastic name. There's a bunch of these systems. There's actually a load, like a huge amount of them, because it's the trend.
Oh, dude, this is actually really funny that this commenter asked this. Any plans on doing a short circuit or something about the sheet sin? Would love to see Dan dive into some hardware-based surround converter. Also, LTT Velcro patches for LARPing. This thing he's talking about, I actually wanted to buy. It's badass. My like thing up here, this is a Valhalla 2 like vacuum tube converter. It's like a whole thing, but it's a headphone amp. And this thing that he's talking about in that comment is this, and it's straight up like a little box you would plug into your PC through optical or USB C, and then you can route out surround sound for like your office for playing games on your PC. And it's just like an all-in-one. You can do this now with like more complicated hardware, but this thing's only $400, which I know it's $400 for like a sound thing, but that for what this does, it's honestly like not that bad. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, if you're interested in that, I'll link it. It's pretty cool. And they make tremendous stuff. Like seriously, I love all of the sheet stuff. Shout out to Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed. Hold on, Maddie. Okay.
Trend right now, and in this whole space, if something catches on even slightly, you can absolutely bet there will be a ton of it almost immediately.
Now, you've given some examples of things that people are doing with these agents on past shows, but is there new stuff that's come to light this week, or just a refresher for those of us who, right now it sounds very vague and nebulous. Well,
Yeah.
it can call to stuff and it can do things. What are some of the things people are doing with this?
So basically with what most people currently have access to, if all they do is like go to OpenAI's website, is GPT-4 or 3.5 or below. And with that, you can usually get the steps that you would need to do to accomplish something.
Sure.
If you ask it how to do it.
How do I build a computer? Right. So instead of how do I build a computer and it listing steps, you could say how do I build a computer, and it could actually just like order for me.
Potentially, if you hooked it up to the right things, because like someone has actually used it to buy their groceries for the week. They're like, I need recipes for a week. These are the types of things that I like. This is the grocery store, whatever. They hooked it up to some grocery delivery service that I don't remember the name of, and it actually purchased the groceries and made it so that like, oh, you bought a can of this, you only need X amount of it for one meal, but I picked a different meal, so you're not eating the same thing all the time, that will use the rest of it in order to be efficient. Like it did all this stuff that was...
Dude, that's insane. Can you imagine? It's only a matter of time before those things come out. Like, that's crazy. And the reason we're having like this, yeah, HelloFresh, but smart HelloFresh. We've done HelloFresh a lot. I've also done Factor Meals a lot. We canceled our HelloFresh because we ran into, for one, we were just eating the same meals over and over again. And Nikki being pregnant, she didn't really like the meals anymore. So there was that. We also had a couple of hiccups where like the person that was delivering them to us was doing a really bad job, and they would show up like really warm, and they'd be ruined and spoiled. Thankfully, HelloFresh would always like refund us, send us a new box. That was great. They always took care of us, but it was just a little annoying. But I love HelloFresh. HelloFresh is super, super cool. But being able to do this like an AI that can just order it from a mass distributor, or like get your groceries for pickup from Walmart or from King Soopers or something like that, it would be just crazy. And it's only a matter of time before this type of tool becomes pretty commonplace. Amazon, I'm sure, is investigating this heavily, figuring out what they need to do to be able to have like the Alexa. I didn't realize I said it, like which triggered it. Thank you, my babe. You. I didn't like, anyway, but I'm sure they're investing heavily in this so that you could just be like, hey, virtual assistant, can you make me a shopping list? I'd like to have salmon, grilled chicken, a Caesar salad, and some crab this week and try to get some recipes that fill out the entire week. And then it does the search and finds ingredients that are shared and volumes of ingredients and calculates all of it and then creates an order that you can just pay, save all the money. They set the order for you and they're like, okay, yep. It'll either be delivered or you can go pick it up this afternoon. And then I'll send the, I'll email the recipes to your email on file and boom, you have it. It's crazy. Would you recommend Factor or HelloFresh? Factor is great for like, I mean, they're basically frozen meals, but refrigerated and never frozen. But they're basically whole meals, prepackaged there. You put them in the microwave for 2 minutes and you eat. It's great. HelloFresh sends the actual ingredients and then you spend half an hour putting it together, making the meal, and then you have your meal. So they're just for different things. Like HelloFresh is great. It taught me how to cook. Like I learned how to make so many different things. So if you've ever wanted to cook, it's the best way to do it. Factor though is great for quick and easy. Boom, we're done. Like you guys know, I used it on stream for months where I would just like during the lunch segment or during lunch or for breakfast, whatever, I would just have a Factor because it was just like, okay, we're going to go on a break for 2 minutes and I'll be back. And then we go on a BRB scene and then I would come back in 2 minutes and I would have my Factor meal and I could eat it while we continue doing what we needed to do. And it was great, but it's just, they're different. So it just depends on what you're looking for. If you want to learn how to cook though, HelloFresh or a similar service is tremendous.
Really, really good. It planned their meals for the week. It ordered everything for them. It gave them recipes for all of the meals, and it efficiently used the ingredients.
Do you remember when microtransactions took off in mobile games? And every other flippin' WAN show, we were talking about some kid going to town on mom or dad's credit card, buying a bunch of jewels or Twitch bits or whatever else it is, racking up thousands of dollars. How long is it going to be before someone sues OpenAI for ChatGPT spending a whole bunch of their money when they were the ones who were irresponsible enough to give it their credit card?
Oh, it's going to be a problem. You mentioned in here connecting it to Bitcoin wallets, right?
Yeah.
Well, people are using that to use GPT-style models to bet on markets for them. No. That is 100% already happening. No. There is even these websites where you can get like auto trading bots for like coin exchanges. And they already have, like, you can build your own bot using GPT models and give it its own weights and everything using that instead of needing to code it yourself, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's getting pretty nuts. I was reading one thread on a person who spent, I think they said roughly 8 hours, like tuning things in and whatnot, working with, I believe it was auto-GPT specifically, but I don't fully remember. And they made a tool. I don't remember what the tool did, but they got like 1,000 users for their tool and were able to sell their like startup company all within like a week, which is just, that's crazy.
Yeah, people are also talking about, I forget who I was talking to, but they were saying they know of someone who basically gave it a little bit of money and said, go build an online business. It built it. Got like, what, 1,000 users or something like that in some obscenely short period of time and then sold it.
Yep. There's also, someone has actually even just asked it, get me money, without giving it any money. And what it did is it like asked them for some of their like personal details and stuff, and it scraped government websites, and it scraped websites that do, man, what is it called when there's like a lawsuit or something? You like bought a product and you
recalls.
Get, no,
or like
you get
class
money
action.
back. Yeah, so it scraped like class action lawsuit things, and it grabbed everything it could for them, like different grants from government because of whatever details about the person and whatever class action lawsuits they were eligible to get money from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it made them like a few $100. Like it wasn't even that small of an amount of money.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. There's a really cool experiment. Do you want to keep reading or do you want me to do it?
Sure. You know what? My brain is tired.
Stanford and Google researchers have been performing a series of, this is wild to me. We were actually talking last week.
That's insane. Like, eventually everybody will catch on to this and everybody will be using it, and there won't be any like quick cheat ways of like making tons of money or being like super successful using GPT. But for the meantime, do you think like 60, 70, 80-year-old investors and speculators are using it? I don't think so. Maybe a few, but not many. And even if they are using it, they probably are not digging into it like this. So use your youth and energy and tech savvy and start experimenting with this stuff, because there's so much potential. Like, there's just so much that you can do. It's crazy. Yeah, dude, work where you find. Well, and this is the thing. Like, I understand what a lot of people are saying. So, like, in the US, I don't know what this is like internationally, to just be completely fair. But in the US, at least, there's a big debate politically about what the government should do to protect workers whose jobs are deemed unnecessary. So, for example, if we got autonomous trucking, like those Tesla or Auto is another company that does it, those semis that can just drive themselves on the highway, and all of a sudden trucks or truckers are just no longer needed, immediately millions of people out of work overnight. Like, they're done. No reason to use them because a robot will just do it. They'll drive better, and they're not beholden to unions who require that they stop at every set point and sleep for a certain amount of time and eat at certain regulated times. None of that matters because it's a robot. Doesn't care. It'll just drive all night, all day, whatever. And so in the US, there's this big debate on like what the responsibility is of regulators to prevent effectively progress in certain cases to protect the citizens, or to ease the transition, right? And it's tricky for me because on the one hand, I really feel for people who would lose their jobs because technology makes their job useless or makes them doing their job useless. It makes it like so inefficient by comparison to the AI stuff. There's no reason to use them. It's why a lot of people are freaking out about like being a graphic designer, a logo designer, or a concept artist or something with open or with Midjourney and these different AI tools for creating art. Like the AI can just do it in 10 seconds for free. Or you could go and try to have like hire an actual artist to do it for you. But why would you do that when it's free? And so some people are like, well, then we should ban something like Midjourney because it'll put all these artists out of work. And I understand the desire to do that, but also there's just something that feels really weird about intentionally halting progress. Because at what point do you draw the line? Like, at what point do you come back and go, okay, well, now it's not banned anymore because we found a way for other artists to work, you know? They won't replace studio artists, but they're very dangerous for amateurs and freelancers. Yeah, well, and I think that it's all a give and a take. Let's be real. AI art, it's getting better, but it's still not as fine-tuned as what a human being can do. But what I think it can do is it can offer itself as a tremendous tool where a single or a small team of lead art designers can create a few key pieces of art that they could upload into something like Midjourney and say, using this as reference, create a series of concept designs in this art style for all of these different settings. And then the AI takes what they did as people and spreads it out and can greatly improve the efficiency of their work. That's where I think it's more likely to be used. Because right now, I mean, you can tell when something's AI generated in some cases, other cases you can't. Like I showed you guys that picture of Geralt that I generated in the style of, it's going to make me log into Discord. Hold on. In the style of a Wes Anderson film. And it was actually like pretty damn good if we're being real. Like it was a little ridiculous. Okay, it's gonna make me scan. Yes, I'm trying to log in. Boop. Authorize. Voila. Like this. Okay, where do I share it? It's like this. This picture is entirely AI generated. If you told me this was a still shot from some new movie that they were making, I would believe you. Like, this is insane. But this is not real. This is entirely created by an artificial intelligence. Like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's insane. Like, this is wild. Same with like this. I used this in the thumbnail of the last stream because I didn't want to use any pictures from Dying Light or Dead Island 2. This is entirely AI generated. I just asked it, create a zombie standing on a beach in Los Angeles. Like, that's wild. That's ridiculous. You can kind of tell the veins in his hands. Maybe there's like these weird black lines and stuff on his hands. I don't know why those are there, but you could even go in here in Photoshop and fix that up if you were really worried about it. Or like I asked Siri in the style of Wes Anderson. There's a couple of weird artifacts like the red dots. I'm not sure why those are there, but you could also just airbrush those out super quick. But like all of this is AI generated. None of it's real. Like, it's ridiculous. Or this one, I asked it to make it in the style of the games. This one, you can kind of tell, like, his thumb is bent weird. It looks like his thumb is broken. None of the labels actually have things written on them. It's all really weird gobbledygook, which is just an artifact of what it does. I also don't know what this is supposed to be. It's, like, supposed to be a roast, but also a fish. It's... It's really uncanny. Same with this. Like, I don't know what those are supposed to be. But it's not bad. Like, it looks like maybe some weird, like, indie artist's version of it. But it's not bad. You know? Yeah, Tanner. A lot of these, it's the little bitty details that need some refinement. For sure. The weird red dots. I honestly am not sure if there's any other things I would count as like issues in this. Maybe this weird fabric piece. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Maybe that could get cut out. You could change that. With this guy, maybe like his stomach is a little weird, but in general, this one, I think. I guess you could also say it looks like he's wearing a shirt, but it blends perfectly into his skin. So it looks like it's a skin, but it's also clearly a shirt. So because it's torn. So it's like a weird mix of the two. So it doesn't quite seem right. With this one, you could say, maybe the black lines are weird. This weird piece of furniture, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Like, so there's a couple of weird little things if you're searching for them. But again, like if you saw this just tweeted out, I don't think you would bat an eye at it. Yeah. But a little bit of refinement, it works wonders. Matt, currently watching on 2X from the beginning because I'm late and want to watch the whole live stream. So hello from the past. Awesome, Matt. Well, when you see this in the future, hello. It can't make turnarounds, 3D model sheets for 3D artists. It can't design stuff from multiple angles and do variations according to art direction. Yet. 6 months ago, we said it can't make photorealistic images that are nearly imperceptible from real photos. And here we are with the V5 model from Midjourney. The Todd Howard one didn't really work. This is one like from a while ago. Photorealistic image of a space miner standing in front of a glass window looking out into space as a distant planet is torn apart. This one didn't really work, but it looks cool. Like, why is the helmet on backwards? I don't know why the helmet's on backwards. It's also weirdly split down the middle. I don't know what this was trying to do, but I also didn't refine this at all. This was like enter, done, that's it. But super cool. Super cool. Super, super cool. But all of this to say, I mean, the stuff that they're doing with AI now is insane. It's just absolutely crazy.
About AI integration into games and how it might be able to go. So this particularly very interesting.
Yeah, he messages me this white paper like earlier this week, like that's basically what his message contents were.
That's honestly more accurate than I would like to admit. Stanford and Google researchers have been performing a series of experiments with similar AI-powered agents by having LLMs control 25 characters within a virtual town. The characters can communicate, interact with their environment, remember events, reflect on those events, and form plans. Each is preloaded with a starting persona and an existing relationship with the other characters in the game. Over the course of...
I read this white paper. It's insane. It's actually crazy.
Several in-world days, the characters engaged in a series of complex interactions based on those starting conditions. Researchers told this is the really cool part in my opinion, researchers told one generative agent to host a Valentine's Day party without any further human intervention. The character invited 9 other characters, who then passed on the information to 4 other characters beyond that. The characters remembered the invitation, reorganized their daily schedule in response to it, with one asking another officially on a romantic date to the event.
Prove to me now that we are not living in a simulation.
Oh boy. We're doing the Silicon Valley tech bro conversation. You can't prove it's not a simulation. Yeah, I don't know. I think what this immediately made me think of is because you were talking about how you want tailored conversations for your games.
Yeah.
You don't really want an LLM to just go in and write all the text for the game because you want it to...
I want, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of like playing Breath of the Wild compared to playing a game that has an auto-generated environment. Okay, you and I went, okay, these are examples that are pulled from vastly different eras of gaming. So I understand that they are not directly comparable, but we did a run of Diablo 1.
Yeah.
Oh, Diablo 1. I mean, basically procedural generated stuff versus handcrafted stuff. It is people are saying, oh, wow, I remember Ubisoft got crap for this a month ago, where they came out and they said, we have a new tool that uses AI to help write dialogue in a first pass that then writers can go back through and double check. So, for example, if you're playing Assassin's Creed
Valhalla,
you could have it so an AI writes the broad structure of dialogue in response to certain prompts, and then the writers just look through, I don't like that word choice, and they swap it out or move it around. And everybody freaked out because they're like, oh, wow, Ubisoft cutting corners again. Wow, classic Ubisoft. And that's a fair concern. If you turn something into just procedurally generated dialogue, it's going to be terrible. Yeah. The question is whether AI, what they're doing now with the ChatGPT level LLMs, the question is whether that's fundamentally different. And that's, I'm really not sure of. Yes, by the way, everybody like this stream, otherwise Rocky will kick my ass. So please like the stream for the sake of my derriere. And that's where I'm honestly not sure. These new language models are awesome, but there is still remnants where they aren't quite human. It doesn't quite work. The other thing with having real-time AI simulations of dialogue would be what happens when a player is trying to troll it and it's you realize you're in a simulation, right? You realize you're living inside of a video game. You're nothing but a thing for my amusement. It gets trippy, right? What are the characters in the town supposed to say? Are they supposed to just be programmed that they can't understand you if you say something like that? I don't know. It's weird. So what these Stanford researchers did, though, is they went in and they used the AI to actually simulate behaviors. So they said, they asked the little NPCs, throw a Valentine's Day party. And so the AI figured out, okay, a party is this and the Valentine's Day party is like this. It's about love and affection. I'm going to invite people, a bunch of different people. So they invited a bunch of villagers, and the different villager NPCs invited other villager NPCs, and they all went to the party and built relationships with each other and discussed it, debated it, questioned it. That's where this could be cool. So, I mean, think of something like in a Red Dead Redemption 2 situation. You go in there and let's just say you hold up a store owner and you rob them and you ride away. With a system like this, You could have all of the townspeople talking to each other while you're off in Saint Denis messing around at a show and getting a new top hat. They're back in Strawberry, and they're talking about what they're gonna do. They're trying to figure it out, and they decide we're gonna have a night watch. We're gonna put men up on top of the buildings, and they're gonna post up and wait, and we're gonna look for this guy. And when we see the guy, we're gonna yell at each other, let everybody in town know, and we're all gonna come out at once. Or maybe we're gonna set a trap, because he's probably gonna come back. He goes to that store all the time. Every time he comes to town, he goes to the store and sells a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna let him go in the store, and then we're gonna post up outside. You could actually have real, dynamic, believable, lifelike behavior from NPCs in video games, and it would be insane. And I'm here for it, because this is the real next generation of gaming. It's not, oh, the reflections are ray traced. This is it. This is something fundamentally different from anything else we've seen. It'll be amazing. Sophie, oh, you're fine. Distracted playing Tales of Iron, my bad. I'm glad to see you here anyways. I'm just glad to have you. It would be cool if AI could be added to NPCs, like you talk through your mic NPCs to create AI responses. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see a couple of games do something like that, because why not? Why not? Red Cherry Runner, getting ads during stream, is this normal now? Have I missed something? I don't mind if it helps you, Luke, because love your streams. Just wanted to ask. I don't know. Like, you were just watching and then it ran an ad? Are other people seeing that? So I guess let me know. Yes, that's what it was. Okay. I will look into that. It's normal. Yes. I only get ads on mobile. Okay. Oh, maybe it's normal. I don't know. I use YouTube Premium, so I have like no idea what ads are like. No clue. Maybe they started running them a little more like precise. I have no idea. I can look into it though, see what the ad rev is like on this stream versus last.
A while back, just like, you know, nighttime gaming. Those generated dungeons end up all kind of being samey.
Yep.
Like, there's some difference in that you don't know what's around the next corner, sort of, but there's also no flow to them. Whereas exploring in Breath of the Wild, it's art.
Yes.
It's artful.
Yep.
You will stumble upon things because there was an intentful, purposeful, whatever.
There's a narrative direction going on. There's a direction of things that you're supposed to experience when you go through different areas. And AI has an issue with hallucinations, as maybe I mentioned that in the pre-show, or getting distracted, as you just mentioned.
Yeah.
How they can get distracted or confused when tasks are really large. Tasking it with doing something that big, holding that narrative the whole way through. Current versions, right? Now maybe I'm wrong in 2 months. I don't know. But current versions are going to struggle with that very seriously. But Skyrim style, like, you need to try to make sure that all the people have jobs that they go to every day and they do stuff and they react to the world. Those baseline, like, NPCs that aren't technically important.
Making environments feel populated.
Yes, yeah.
Is going to be
super good at that.
Totally a different game.
Yeah.
It's just, when it gets to dialogue, that's where I'm really not sure about it, because I don't want them to say something different if there isn't new content for me to engage with.
Yeah.
With that said, it is a matter of time before there's a game where you are just dumped into essentially an MMO that is entirely populated with AI agents that level up and quest and have jobs and build new towns for you to explore, to the point where when you go back and you re-engage, it is new stuff and things have happened and you do need to catch up on events, and it's happening constantly, all the time, everywhere. I mean,
what I don't know though is I don't know what the like technical demands are for this, because my understanding is that it requires like specific hardware that has been very specifically built out through Microsoft Azure platform. It's not something like you can just run Mid-Journey on your laptop. You know, it's pretty heavy. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's at least was my understanding. So my concern would be like, okay, they bring something like this to a game. Is that going to run on a PS5? Probably not. It's probably requiring server infrastructure, and then it talks to the servers. And at that point, like, is that actually that practical for them to implement into a game, or is that too expensive? You know? I don't know. It's interesting. DMs?
Man, when we first started talking about Stadia and cloud gaming, I didn't realize it yet, but this is the kind of gaming experience that should have enabled. Imagine an escape from.
And by the way, Rocky, yeah, I do want to do YouTube Shorts again and TikToks and stuff. I've thought about going and getting another team that specifically clips stuff from the streams and stream highlights again. I don't think I'll do the same company I did last time, but maybe I will. I'm not sure. But I've been thinking of doubling down on that again, because I pulled it up on YouTube. I saw like a handful of my shorts I posted months ago have like 200,000-300,000 views. I'm like, what the hell? I had no idea. Put them up, kind of forgot about them, and they've done like really well. Who knew? So I like to double down on it.
Tarkov-like experience. Where
if they do well, Rocky,
warping
too, I can toss
into,
you some
but
cash
instead
for
of an instance, a persistent world. And then you know, every 6 months or whatever it is, you do a wipe, and it's a brand new world.
I feel like hardcore gameplay actually benefits from this like more. Like imagine a permadeath RPG.
Oh.
But your effects 100% remain. And I know there's like roguelikes that go in this direction already. Someone already mentioned it, but like SAO, yeah, if you've watched the like first half season of SAO, the good part, it's kind of like the impacts of your previous character. Not only are they detectable, as they are sometimes in like roguelike games, but they like extremely impact the world.
And there's this butterfly effect where someone comes in, murders the son of some AI agent baker who swears vengeance on every player character.
So then
and this
there's
town
like a plague put through the town through the bread sold at the bakery.
And you could have all these different attributes that could even be slightly RNG'd that apply to these NPCs, and depending on how people interact with them, they could turn into like you could not even assign a big baddie to this world.
Yeah.
There could just be many potential big baddies that form.
There could be forces that are aligned against each other, and then through natural events of them, you know, wanting to gain position on each other, big baddies just are created dynamically in the world. Could be super interesting.
Hideo Kojima apparently had the idea of a Raw game. This is according to Floatplane Chat, back in 1998, and apparently it's something kind of like this. Yeah, someday
you can tell game developers have wanted to do this type of stuff for a long time.
Well, it's one of the holy grails. It's like true physics-based object interaction. Attempts have been made.
Yeah.
And even games where
really
it plays a significant role in gameplay, whether we're talking about Rainbow Six or some of the earlier Battlefield games, destructible environments, it's been done.
Kojima was like 2 decades ahead of everybody. I think everybody's had this idea for a long time. It's not just Kojima. Everybody's always dreamt of having a real simulated AI world. Like, everybody's always wanted that. It just hasn't been possible. And now it's starting to look like, well, actually, maybe this could work. Maybe not 1,000 NPCs, but like 50 with realistic opinions and stuff. It'd be cool. Didn't YouTube say they wanted to change the monetization of short? Oh yeah, I saw somebody with a bunch of shorts getting like 500K to 1 million views and only makes like $30 a month. Yeah, so I've done the research into this because I was trying to like price it out and figure out whether it was profitable or worth doing. Shorts are just used for advertising, basically. But not advertising for advertisers, advertising to your main channel. Being like a TikTok creator or a shorts creator is not a very profitable venture. You will get 1 million views and get like $3. You know, it's going to be a total joke. It only really makes sense if you're driving people to bigger, longer content that does well. And so, you know, it's why I always joked like TikTok views are like fake views. It's like 1,000 TikTok views is the equivalent of like 1 YouTube view, because it happens so randomly. It very rarely has any serious impact on anything, because somebody can view it for a few seconds and then swipe and they count that as a view. So it just doesn't really matter that much. It's why like there's that story of the girl who had like 2 million followers on TikTok, and she went to like I think it was VidCon, and she got a booth because she's like, I'm a TikTok celebrity. I've got 2 million followers. She rented out a booth and she was going to hand out these like bracelets or something she made, and not a single person came up to her booth. Not a single person. And it was this wake-up call of like, okay, yeah, well, it's because it's kind of fake. Like, there's some people that are so big on TikTok that you see them, you'll recognize them, and it's like, oh, that's cool. But it's not real. Like, it's not the same as somebody seeking out a YouTuber or a streamer on Twitch that they spend hours with every day, you know? TikTok has made a lot of kind of faux influencers who think that they're super famous, and they're just not. It's just different. Fighting Cowboy basically said it wasn't worth the effort to make them. It didn't draw enough or make any revenue on its own. It won't make enough revenue on its own, but like Tanner said earlier, I think it was Tanner, it's like, that's how he found, yeah, Tanner, that's how I found you, a YouTube short. People will find your channel and be like, oh, this guy's interesting. And they'll click on the channel and see all this other stuff, and then they'll watch the video, and boom, all of a sudden, a new sub. So it's basically like, yeah, it's not going to make you money, but it will give you exposure, which exposure is worth money. It's just, instead of cash, you're getting this thing that's worth something. And so for me, like, I don't know how it converts, but I remember it being expensive. Like, having a video advertised, say, to 1,000 people is maybe what, like $20-50, something like that. You could pay that, or you could go through YouTube Shorts, get that exposure, get in front of those people for nothing, because the discoverability is so high. That's why you do it. You don't do it to make money. What I will say also is some sponsors love the shorts. They love TikTok, and you can work wonders if you go in and like can harness that. I'm not going to get into specifics, but there are sponsors who will pay thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to be like the subject of a TikTok that does well. It's like the big thing right now. So it can be worth it. Like, I'm probably going to be a paid sub soon. I found you on shorts. Yeah. See, like, that's crazy. And that's why, like, for me, I look at the shorts, and like I said, I didn't pay attention to it for like a month or two. And some of those shorts have like 2, 3, 4, 500,000 views. Sure, they haven't made me a penny, or if they have made me any money, it's probably like a few bucks, maybe. But it's crazy. The growth is what justifies it. I have a TikTok with 300k views. It's really weird. The same video got 2k on YouTube Shorts. Yeah, I've had it where like some TikToks do really, really well, and then they don't do well on Shorts. And then sometimes on Shorts they do really, really well, and on TikTok they don't do very well. Like that 500,000 view YouTube short that we posted did like 2,000 on TikTok. So it's just all over the place. I still remember I did that YouTube short / TikTok. We put it up on both, where I was like, oh, look at this. We looked at the video of the girl whose body and face scan was used for Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. And she works in the industry. She's a streamer. She has like, I think 2,000, like 1,500 to 2,000 subs on Twitch. Like, she's making decent money. And I said just offhandedly at the end of the clip that was used for the TikTok, I was like, oh, so she's making probably like $4,000 a month on Twitch doing that. Not going to get rich off of it, but that's decent money. Good for her. And that was the end of it. And dude, the comment section was filled with people like, bro, $4,000 a month is not rich. Lol. Like, I said it's pretty good money, but that comes out to $48,000 a year. I'm pretty sure that's below the median income in the US, isn't it? Or am I thinking of it in Colorado? In the US, it's third. No, that's 2019. Where's the 22 data? Median family income. One earner, Colorado is 70,000. One earner, Alabama, 52. In places like, I don't know, most of these places, like even Louisiana, the median income's 49,000. And so she's making decent money on Twitch, but like even that is below the median for Louisiana. Virgin Islands is 35,000. Puerto Rico is 26,000. So I was like, yeah, but it's good money for playing video games on stream for sure. But like, to be rich, I think by definition, you have to be above the median. And like, that's not above the median. Like, I didn't think it was that controversial a thing to say. But man, like people freaked out. It was really weird. It's like, what are we talking about? Come on, guys. Yeah, 40K a year for streaming is awesome. A lot of people would kill to get that. No doubt. Like, that's pretty good. There's way more subs and members than I have. Like, props. But I was just like, yeah, you're not getting rich off of it, but it's pretty good money. People, like, you would have thought I was one of those guys that said, like, oh, she's making, 150,000 a year. Wow, so she's barely scraping by. Like, if I said that, I get it, but, like, come on. For a social platform job, it's good. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, it's well above the average for people that are trying to make it on social media, make a living. Well above. Views don't necessarily mean it did good. I have TikToks with 20K views, 50K views, and only have like 15 likes or 2 comments. Yeah, no, it's views on TikTok and YouTube Shorts don't really mean anything. It's all about click-through rates. It's all about conversions to other places. Again, TikTok and YouTube Short views and Instagram views, all of that stuff, it's just smoke. It makes people think that they're super successful, and it doesn't really mean anything until you can do something with it. If you can do something with it, we're good. But that's the question, you know. May sound like a naive question, but if you do short and long critiques, won't people be surprised? After all, aren't shorts meant to be tailored for short attention spans? It can be a little disjointed. It's why we've put most of our effort into doing shorts for the live channel, so people get the exposure to come over and sub to the live channel and get that exposure. And in that capacity, you know, they see clips from the live stream and then they come over to the live stream channel and watch streams. Whereas if you're right, if they watch like a 10-second clip from a main channel upload and then they go in and they're like, oh, it's a 4-hour critique of Hogwarts Legacy. Oof. You know, I get that. Sup, Sam Jam? And yeah, Mr. K, we checked out those reactions. We didn't look at skill ups, but we checked out the preview. I'm kind of jelly. Nikki's mowing the lawn. I love mowing the lawn. I love it. Let's see. I think I found you through an RDR2 short. Really, Adam? See, all this is telling me is it's worth doing that. It's worth doing the shorts. I think I might need to go back to them and double down. I was like, oh, I'll just have Jacob cut them. But what we found is like, it's just a different animal to cut these things together. And for me, like, I'm just trying to get enough content out for the main channel and have stuff to talk about on stream, that by the end of the day, to be like, okay, now I need to come up with 5 different ideas for TikToks. And like the way I make TikTok and the way I make videos is like, I'm not good at just the quick, oh, I'll film myself doing a little dance. doing a little dance and then like holding up a game controller. Like my brain doesn't work that way. I don't think to do that stuff. So I'm like, let's just clip it from the clips. Like, let's just do that. Cause I don't want to be the dancer guy. I don't want to do that. I found you through shorts. So glad I came over to the main channel. Oh, Mango, that's awesome. I can do content ideas, I think. I am all in for that, Rocky, because I am fried by the time I'm done. Did you see the blurry Assassin's Creed Mirage leaks? I did not. I'm going to look those up right now. AC Mirage leaks. April 6th. Jonathan. Oh my god, dude, that's so cringe. Wow. Okay, guys, I was like, I don't know if I should show this because it might spoil something. Whatever. Imagine the most hilariously stupid looking leak. Now blur it times 50. Come on, dude. I'd say the thing that makes... Like, come on. You kidding me? Yes, as you can see, the blob runs towards the other blob. And from that, we can do... Oh, man. By the way, everybody, we have the first episode of our podcast on Friday. And so maybe we'll talk about this with Jor Raptor on Friday. And I'll get his take on it. Maybe he'll be like, as you can see, you can actually see from this that there's a ledge right here, which means that social stealth is confirmed or something. I don't even know. But I mean, come on. You have to try to film something this poorly. What actually convinces me that this might actually be real is the fact that they have like the Assassin's Creed pop figures in front of their desk. It makes me think that it does kind of look like a work in progress game, but man, I can't see shit. I see you're still able to move forward. Wasn't sure if that feature would be in this game. I think you had a bit of gameplay in your pixels there. The running animation looks similar to Unity or Origins or Odyssey or
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Cloth physics are back. Oh, I guess that is something we could take from it. Yeah, it does look like the cloth is flopping. That's cool. That's cool. It was a blurry filter he used. Okay. Maybe it's... What I'll say is like, I recently went to a preview event and, like, watermarked picture. I went to a preview event and the watermarks all over the screen were insane. Like, I couldn't actually really see much of anything. I'm trying to see if there's an example here that's like as aggressive as what I saw. I don't even see anything quite on the level. It was kind of like this. You see where it's just like all over, but it wasn't IBM. It was like a specific number that was tied to my play session. So it was like user 4252ABX232425. And it was just filled in all over the place. Kind of like this. And it would wiggle and move all around the screen constantly so that I couldn't just like do a filter in After Effects or something to try and remove the watermark. Like, it would destroy the footage if you had it. And it was all over the place. You couldn't see anything. And so it made it really difficult to be like excited over the thing that they were showing me. So I was like, I can't see anything. So this is terrible. And maybe, I guess the one way you could get around this is by just blurring the crap out of it. So then you can't see the numbers, but like the TikTok watermark. Yeah. But if it covered the entire screen and then wiggled and moved and rotated and stuff just all over the place, Yeah. Even dev bills are full of watermarks. Exactly. For good reason, because they want to avoid leaks. But, man. All it takes is 4 seconds of 144p secondhand footage from the same Unity running animation and cloth physics to hype us up, bro. Yeah. I mean, at least it looks like there's cloth physics. And honestly, that's more than we knew before because we know like nothing about this game. Let's be real. Hold on. Let's see. This next thing is from Yong. This next video is from Yong, and it is about Square Enix doing yet another terrible thing and getting mocked roundly for it, as they rightly deserve, because they are frankly hilariously bad at pretty much everything they've done recently.
Intelligence across our daily lives and across numerous industries just feels inevitable, and it's definitely a tool that can help enhance certain processes, or in the case of gaming, you can do things like, you know, DLSS or AMD FSR, where a lot of the heavy lifting graphics wise can be done by artificial intelligence, allowing us to get better performance. They're good uses of AI. On the other side of things, when it comes to like trying to replace artists with artificial intelligence, and when that artificial intelligence is using other people's work, a pool of other people's work to generate those images, that's when, like, ethically speaking, we're in murky territory. But the technology itself is cool when used properly, when used ethically. It can pave the road to some really cool ideas, like this one right here from Square Enix. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Portopia serial murder case. It's this
Interesting. They're going to do something a little different. Okay, Square Enix, let's see what you got.
visual novel demo that aims to showcase the artificial intelligence technology known as natural language processing, where you essentially can type things.
Oh no, did they turn off? They turned off like to just like, uh-oh.
And give prompts to the game, and the game ideally will recognize those prompts, interpret them properly, and allow for essentially flexibility in input from people who are playing visual novels, where they have to type in what they want to do, what they want to say, and whatnot. And so this is the trailer. This is what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to work. It's definitely a very interesting concept.
Here we are in Akuma Town. Okay, ask around. Sure.
You can see right here, search the bartender, and the AI is supposed to very clearly know what that means and allow for people to have sort of more genuine feeling conversations with characters, or be able to input prompts without having to search for the exact wording. The AI just kind of knows what you want to say.
Interesting concept. Okay. Interesting.
And is able to interpret that into the necessary input to progress further into this visual novel. That's the idea. I think that's one of those like good use cases of AI, as long as it works properly, and that's where the issue lies with this game. So right here you can see the Steam listing for Square Enix AI Tech Preview, the Portopia serial murder case. The review score is currently sitting at a whopping very negative. Hovering over to the score itself, you can see that only 11% of people who've tried this have given it a positive review, whereas 89% have given it a negative review score. This, by the way, makes it one of the worst, if not the worst rated game on Steam ever, according to Hall of Shame.
It's also got only like 200 reviews, so it's not quite fair to compare it. I tried to play War of the Three Kingdoms. I actually was making a video. I was like, oh, I tried the worst game on Steam. And it's like, it's all in Chinese. I can't, or Mandarin or whatever. Like, I can't read any of the writing. I have no idea what it says. I can't even play it.
The closest thing to it is the 15% upvote ratio that War of the Three Kingdoms received. That is 85% of reviews being negative, whereas this game from Square Enix, this free game, is at 89% negative. And reading through the reviews, you'll find exactly why that is. The AI technology that's supposed to make it easier for people to interact with the game by inputting commands or by...
First review, barely works. They say they removed the AI component due to safety concerns, so this doesn't even have the tech that was supposed to be the preview in the first place. Wait, they removed the AI? That was the whole point. Okay, in this AI tech demo of a game that we are building, You can play around with the AI, but we did remove the AI. So what is it now? Like,
inputting dialogue and whatnot. It just
Mandarin Chinese is written the same as other dialects of Chinese. Okay. So it's all just Chinese. Oh, there you go.
doesn't work. The thing that it's supposed to solve with older versions of these types of games, where if you don't input something exactly, then you're not going to be able to progress, even though you know what the solution is. You're just trying to find a way for the game to recognize that you know what the solution is. Like, this is supposed to resolve that, but with this game, it's just about as bad, if not worse, than those kinds of games from the past. You do have to input commands and prompts very precisely, which is why people are not recommending this game. So here's a top-rated review. AI, bro, this is at best a linear visual novel where the options are fixed and we have to guess what are the options. The artificial intelligence just does not recognize context. It does not.
Well, if it is true that they removed it, that's freaking hilarious. I mean, that's insane. Hold on, I want to pull this up. I want to pull this up. Did he link it? Steam. Good job, Young. He linked it. Yeah. Barely works. They say they removed the AI component due to safety concerns, so this doesn't even have the tech that it was supposed to be a preview of in the first place. Wow. It actually works when you enable the debug overlay with voice parsing results, though you need an insane amount of VRAM to use the high quality parser, and on low end or laptops, in my case, voice recognition can be really messed up. Okay. So what are your orders? I think we should go to the scene of the crime, don't you think? Maybe we should focus on the task at hand. Oh. Can you tell me anything about the victim? Maybe we should focus on the task at hand. Here we are, Kozo Yamakawa's mansion. Let's investigate. I'm not sure what to say about that. When did Kozo die? His throat was cut with a knife. Death would have been pretty much instantaneous. Interviewing a witness. Ask about their story. How about we discuss this after the interview? Tell me about the murder weapon. Maybe we should focus on the task at hand. Oof. Wow. AI does not equal text adventure. Man. If they actually did remove the AI, that's freaking hilarious. I don't see any confirmation. Do they have an update or something about the game? No. But man, if they actually remove the AI and now it's just a weird port of this old game, that's freaking hilarious. Wow. Wow. Sometimes Square's success is astonishing. I don't know, they just have these like really weird swings and misses. Like they have Final Fantasy VII Remake. Everybody loves it dearly. It's amazing. Everybody's like, this is one of the best things ever. And then for the next like 4 years, they just steadily drop garbage and can't seem to figure it out. Like, and then they double down on NFTs for a while. Apparently, they're still very interested in investigating opportunities with AI, with NFTs, not AI. NFTs too, but yeah, AI too, but NFTs primarily. It's just amazing to me that like they try to hop onto every trending bandwagon of what the next moneymaker is going to be, instead of just trying to figure out what can make the best games. You know. There are no middling games with them, it seems. It seems like they either are very successful in something or they just totally blow it. It's a talent, really. Sorry if I missed it, but did you play Star Wars yet or do a review or anything? No, I was out of town all last week, so I couldn't do anything. And they weren't that interested in just sending me a free copy. So I get it. So I'll be playing on Friday with everybody else. I'm just like you. I remember when they first showed Forspoken before it was called that, and everyone was pretty hyped. If only we knew. It just goes to show you, looks aren't everything. Really aren't. Speaking of looks, apparently Fallout 4 Next Gen is rumored to be coming or something, and Maddie talked about it yesterday. So let's see what the dealio is with this.
It is Maddie here today, sitting down to talk about Fallout 4's next-gen update. The reason we're doing this is because the Starfield Honest Expectations video did way better than I expected. It was a lot of fun to make. The reception was super positive, and it was kind of an old school style Mr. Maddie video where we pick a random Bethesda topic and just shoot the breeze about it. So in that video, we talked about Starfield leading into May, where inevitably we're going to get leaks, rumors, tons of speculation, and it's going to start to become a conflict of what's speculation fueled by recent rumors versus what is a realistic expectation. So I wanted to do the same exact style video.
I'd like to think that I've had some influence on Maddie, trying to tone down his expectations a little bit. I'd like to think, but I don't know. Maybe he's just matured, because we've had a few discussions. We've done a few collabs together, and it's just, I mean, at this point, I think he tends to give Bethesda the benefit of the doubt on a lot of stuff, and I don't. And so I think he's more prone to potentially being disappointed by this stuff. But I got to give him credit. He's actively like trying to express concern. He's trying to keep his expectations level-headed. And that's a hell of a lot more than a lot of other people have done in years past. So I got to give him credit for that.
Except for Fallout 4's next-gen update, because it's a weird one. It was announced on Fallout's 25th anniversary. And normally when you hear about some type of next-gen
Oh, it was announced. I just totally spaced it then.
update, it's going to be out relatively soon, because it's an exciting thing, but it's not the hype thing, so to say. But Bethesda's been holding on to this one, and because of that, people are starting to speculate. And I have some thoughts and some expectations on how I think this Fallout 4 next-gen update will go. We're going to get into the potential of new content. Will Creation Club be bundled in? When's it going to drop? When are they going to announce it? Will it be before or after Starfield? And so on and so forth. So we have much to discuss when it comes to Fallout 4's next-gen update. Thank you so much for lending me some of your time today. If you're just stopping by, know that we are doing a Star Wars Jedi Survivor review this Wednesday.
Oh yeah, by the way, let me link it for everybody. Go give Maddie some love. Give him your love.
Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Hopefully, I'll see you there. Excited to talk about that one, as it's one of the most anticipated games of the year. With that, let's begin our conversation for Fallout 4's next-gen update. I think the big question I wanted to start off with is, why now? You see, Fallout 4 is a really weird game in the terms of next-gen support, because it did get a Xbox One X update where it was able to run at 4K.
I'm sorry, this is something that's always bugged me about Maddie stuff. Little grammar Nazi thing, okay? This is super stupid, I acknowledge that. When you use like the letter A in a sentence, and an in a sentence, they're articles. You use an when the next word starts with a vowel sound. So an apple, not a apple, right? Or a boat instead of an boat, right? Maddie constantly for like a decade, ever since I was like in high school watching him, he would do this. He constantly mixes them up, and he'll use like whatever did he just say?
Because it did get a Xbox.
A Xbox. I get it. X is not a vowel, but Xbox is a vowel sound. So you're supposed to use an Xbox, not a Xbox. Drives me crazy. And he does it all the time, and he's done it for like a decade. It's always triggered the hell out of me. And I have to get it out there. Otherwise I'm going to be stewing and I'm going to turn red, and you're going to be like, what's happening? Luke's having a heart attack. And it's just, it triggered me because it doesn't hit the ear right, which is why it exists as a random arbitrary rule in English, is that you go an Xbox, not a Xbox or a Apple. It doesn't work, you know? But you draw a line through your Z's, so it's a bit of hypocrisy. I do that. I do the engineer Z. I sure do. Xbox. I'm guilty of that. Sorry. Everybody learned something today, okay? English has a lot of exceptions though, like yo-yo. English is just one big exception. Most of English doesn't make any sense. The word bomb, B-U-M-B, compared to like C-O-M-B, it's like, okay, it's bomb. So that word would be calm. Nope, it's comb. Doesn't make any damn sense, does it? Yep, doesn't make any sense. Whatever. I've always added the line on my Z and my 7. Yeah, I do too. They're called engineer, at least what I was told is they're called like engineer 7s or engineer Zs, because in like very detailed work, you want to make sure that 7s look very different from 1s if you draw your 1 with a little line on it. So you try to distinguish them with a line through the middle. But it does trigger some people. It's funny. French is a language full of exception and it's a pain, but at least French sounds like romantic and sounds like you're speaking in cursive. How Sean Bean's name is pronounced. Exactly. I thought when I remember being like, what, it was 2004. I think I was 7 years old when National Treasure came out. We went to see National Treasure at the movie theater. And I remember seeing in the opening credits, his name, Sean Bean, on screen. And I remember turning to my mom, and I don't know why this is such a vivid memory for me, but I remember turning and being like, his name is Sean Bean? And she's like, no, it's Sean. It's like, but it's spelled Scene. I didn't get it at all. And to this day, I insist it doesn't make any sense.
One X update where it was able to run at 4K 30 FPS. And then with FPS Boost announced, it was actually one of the titles that was first shown off on the Series S running at 60 frames per second. It wasn't until much later in May of 2021 that finally Fallout 4 was running at 60 frames on Xbox Series consoles thanks to FPS Boost. However, the trade-off here was that the visuals went down to 1080p, and so some fans were not too crazy about that, because Fallout 4, I think, is a vibrant game in its color palette, but it's not necessarily a looker across the board, and especially when you're knocking down them pixels, it's going to look a little bit worse, of course. You couple that with PlayStation not being in the mix, now Fallout 4, the best place to play it is on Xbox, and so I view this in a number of ways on why they're doing this. Number one, it is a popular enough game. It's sold millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. It is beloved no matter what some members of the Fallout community will tell you. People will put thousands of hours into this game. It's fun to mod. Console mod support is still great, where keeping it updated is in Bethesda's best interest. We've seen that with Skyrim as they continue to update that game, that these games just have long shelf lives, so it makes sense to just update it now, catch up the PlayStation fan base with what the Xbox fan base has. But also when you look at the 1080p image quality compared to what we can get now with Fallout 4 being 4K 60 on next-gen consoles with a proper next-gen update, I think that is one of the motivations for Bethesda to get in there and do this thing. But again, it goes back to that question of why now? There are plenty of engineers who are technically fascinated by things, but that necessarily doesn't always justify the next-gen update. I think we got to immediately turn our attention to this Fallout TV show, because it's the only thing that's on my mind when it comes to sync.
Just cut it there. It's the only thing that's on my mind. I do think that Bethesda right now is just in the habit of only caring about something if they have something else going on related to it. They only care about Fallout because they have a Fallout show in the works. So yeah, we'll put some effort into it. You know, it's just frustrating because you would hope that they would have done this next gen update 2 years ago, because we're 2 years into the generation, going on 3 years. Like we're 2.5 basically. It's still insane. Also, by the way, 2.5 years into the gen. Isn't that crazy? And we still, like, it feels like we're still seeing most releases come cross-generational. It's really weird. By comparison, like if we say that the last generation started in 2013, we are in the 2015 going on 2016 era. And that was pretty late in the gen. Like we were already at the point where we were starting to see, you know, some big releases that were taking advantage of the hardware. I think Uncharted 4 was 2016. So like you got to think we're about on that level. It's wild. Games take so long to make. Now they take a long time to make, and we had a global pandemic that pretty much caused all game development to seemingly pause for like a year and a half. It's crazy, but it feels like just nothing happened for a year and a half.
Synchronizing
Everything was
this
delayed.
next-gen update with something. Now, could this update just drop one day and that's that? Here it is, enjoy, have fun, and there's no synchronization of other media to draw hype. Yes, it's possible they do that, but when you look at the Fallout TV show and you look at what CD Projekt Red specifically has accomplished with Netflix and their collaboration there with Cyberpunk Edgerunners and its continuous updates, and then you look at The Witcher and its continued updates and how both games saw high player counts following the show's release, I'm sure that Bethesda is sizing up how can we make Fallout a big popping thing so many years after launch. We already see the legs are there thanks to modding. But how do you get that on the console side? Well, you give them new content, right? So let's talk a bit about that, because I think whenever we get this next-gen update is whenever we get the first episode of the show. Like, I think these two are going to go hand in hand, because otherwise, to me...
Maybe they're just dragging their feet because they're lazy. I don't know. I think the only reason they would really pair it with the show is if they were selling it again, and they were like, oh, Fallout 4 Ultimate Definitive Deluxe Ultimate Edition, Pro, Ultra, Premium, Pro Max. Like, if they were doing that, I would get it. But as far as I understand it, this is supposed to be a free next-gen update, in which case I don't think they really care. That's my opinion, though. Let's see. I do hope Starfield's good. Yeah, I mean, I do too. I just think with all of this, it's like people are expecting magic, and I just don't think that it's reasonable to expect magical things to happen. Like, they think that somehow this is going to be a really polished, refined, like, release from Bethesda, because they're like, well, now they're owned by Xbox. They're owned by Xbox, right? And I'm like, no, every game they've ever released for the last like 20 years has been a broken mess at launch. It just has been. Love it or hate it, it's the case. What makes you think that this time will be magically different? I just don't get it. I know. I saw you were mowing the lawn. No. Yeah? How'd it go? How'd it go? When you? Strangers mowed the lawn for us.
Some bright red.
It's your bright red. You smell like grass. That's weird. That's weird how that worked.
I like grass.
Did you mow the lawn in sweatpants?
No.
Did you not get super hot?
I don't want to change.
No.
People just stare at me down the road like I'm an oddity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're that lady in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like when I was shoveling the driveway right after having Lockie, and the neighbor's like, what are you doing? Make your husband do this. And I looked at him, and he's like, oh, it's a mommy break. I was like, it is a mommy break.
Mm-hmm. She's like,
go away.
I get to be alone while I
This is
shovel.
the longest I've been alone in 2 weeks.
What's weather like currently? It's 58. Yeah. So it's nice and chilly.
Turned on the AC.
When do I think Fallout 5 will be a thing? They said it's coming after Elder Scrolls 6. So if Starfield's coming out this year, 23, Elder Scrolls 6 is probably 28. Fallout 5 I don't think comes until the 2030s. So buckle up. We're going to be old. Lachlan will be able to play through it on his Xbox 17 or whatever. It's crazy. Nice and long. Yep. Nice and chilly. What's nice about the cold? Everything. It's chilly. It's refreshing.
We just got back
wonderful.
from Texas, where it was like 80% humidity.
Austin, yeah, which is humid.
80 degrees. It was beautiful. I mean, we were in shorts every day. We come back here and it's 50, and we're like, oh man, forgot this is like sunny for us right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Let your lady take over. You're right, Tanner. I should just call it. Nikki will take off the stream and continue.
I need to start mine. I think I'll do that next week.
What?
I think I'll do that next week.
Wingardium Babiosa. That's good. I like that. Yeah, Nikki's stuff is getting set up. We've been recovering from this trip that drained us. So yeah, we saw that yawn. Yeah, we're both very tired.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a shower. I do some laundry.
Yeah. I have to make some videos. because we're super behind. Whoop whoop. Anyway, yeah, we'll keep you posted. We'll let you know. She'll get on. She'll rock and roll. But yeah, we've been going about 4 hours. I feel like that's a good one. Quick, 3 more likes. 3 more likes, and then I can let us go. 2 more. We're close. 2 more. We're close. I know there's somebody out there who's like, oh, I haven't done it. He doesn't know.
See, you do
I'm
that
calling
and
you
it's
out.
okay, but I do that and it's attention seeking. Yeah, okay.
When I do what?
2 more compliments.
Oh, 2 more compliments? Oh.
Like me. And you're
Like me,
oh,
like me.
No, it's fine if I'm doing it.
It's me, Shields. I knew it. Well, anyway. I appreciate you guys. You guys are all wonderful. Love you dearly. We'll talk very, very soon. We'll be back Friday with the first episode of the podcast. It's going to be good fun. We'll be hanging out with Jor Raptor, the one and only. And we're also going to play some Jedi Survivor. It's going to be good fun. Hermione wants in so bad. Anyway, much love, everybody. Thanks for chilling with me. Hugs and kisses. Stay safe. When is baby due? Mid-June. Like right as all the gaming events happen. Right then. But he's big. He's measuring like a week ahead. So he might be like an early June if he's super early. I mean, if he's measuring a week ahead, that would mean like his presumed due date wouldn't be June 10th, which is what it is now, but it would actually be June 3rd. And that means if he comes just a few days early, he could be a May baby. So he could be here very, very soon. It's crazy. Name right now, we like Jasper. We like a little Jasper, little brother to little Lachlan. We will see though, because last time around we were like pretty sure that Lachlan was going to be an Oliver, and then like a few weeks beforehand we changed it. So I don't know. My son is a May baby. I think it'd be fun. Then Caleb, like I mentioned earlier, Caleb, who you guys know, he is expecting in, well, not he, his wife is expecting in mid-May roughly. So 2 May babies. That'd be pretty cute. Pretty fun. Another boy, prepare for the fights. Oh yeah, baby. But the good thing is they can tire each other out. You know, that's great. This stream isn't ending. Sorry, Tanner. I'm going to pee myself if I don't. Thanks for chilling me, everybody. You guys are all wonderful. Thank you to the new members, to the people who re-upped their membership. Thank you to Luke for the donation. Sean for re-upping. Kimbis for re-upping. You guys are all wonderful. I love you dearly. Hugs and kisses. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.